Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome all. Welcome, Mo. Um, we're we have a problem. We have a judge who is really, really fast. So the trial has already started 10 minutes early.
Oh,
It's
there's something wrong.
something must be wrong in Texas. Indigo, did you change the water or something? Because they are already going live. So yesterday we went through a lot of great evidence, the ring bells of them leaving the house, where you can hear another surveillance video where you can hear the shots. We saw the inside of the defendant's home, which looked kind of like a bomb had exploded with all the crap in the world in it. We saw a lot of texts between them. We saw a lot of messages, some of them with it's early in the US, so I won't talk about male fluids pumped into a lady. Hot
Or the
male
temperature
fluids.
thereof.
Yeah, we won't mention any of that. But
Thank you.
yeah, because we're a nice channel. But we're gonna get started real early, so we'll catch up in one of the breaks because finally
Sounds
a
like a
trial
plan.
that's going on time and fast, and I love this trial. And
Y-
we'll talk more
I
later.
know.
Let's say hey to Lefty, Indigo,
Hello,
Josie,
everyone.
Old Lion Red, Reindeer, and then let's just pop in and see what kind of crazy they're going to talk about today.
I know. It will be interesting.
It will be.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, and as you can see on the top of the stream, it's a Baker and Mo dual stream. So please like and subscribe on both our channels if you have the ability.
Good, thank you. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is April Kendrick,
Is it really low?
APRILKENDRICK.
And Ms. Kendrick, for whom do you work?
I work for the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Sciences, which is also known as SWIFTS or the Dallas County Crime Lab.
Right, and the Dallas County Crime Lab, what do you just generally tell the jury what goes on there?
Okay, we are a full service, fee-for-service laboratory.
Oh,
that
we can do a little talk
we
while
house
she
the
says,
medical
I'm an
examiner
expert, I
in our
do expert
facility,
thing.
as
We
well
work with
as a
experts
physical evidence
and
section,
stuff.
which includes the firearm toolmark unit.
I'm
the forensic
unsure if
biology
they
section,
didn't allow him
and
to
trace
have a
evidence,
tie.
as well
or he
as
just
a
like
forensic
collars.
imaging unit that houses the drug laboratory.
Let's see how
toxicology, and
soon he
drug
loses his
So we're talking about
intense
DNA,
stare again
blood,
today.
serology, drugs, and the medical examiner and autopsy, as well as firearm analysis. That all is there under that roof.
Yes,
Well,
and you said
Farrell
it's
isn't here, so
for fee
who
labs.
else?
It's not just Dallas
No, that's
County
not nice.
that can use this lab, correct? Anyone can pay to have any kind of testing done.
that's correct.
And what do you do specifically at Swifts?
I am the supervisor of the firearm and toolmark unit.
All right, and what does the firearm toolmark unit do?
The firearm and toolmark unit generally examines firearms to determine if they
Oh,
are
so it's the tool
mechanically
marks today,
functional,
the junk
Okay.
science.
safe to fire.
All right.
We also evaluate
She really doesn't
ammunition
look the
and
same.
ammunition
I like those
components,
glasses,
which would
though.
include fired
Was she
bullets
on the
and
stand
fired
yesterday?
cartridge cases.
Yes,
We
I believe
also
she was on the
perform
stand yesterday,
serial
but she
number
didn't get into
restorations
the
on
sort of
firearms or
individual
other items
markings
of
that they're
evidence that may have
saying
had the serial number removed.
doesn't
It's
exclude.
it
I
stopped kind of
perform
abruptly because
range of fire
I had been out
analysis,
brushing
which
my teeth,
is a
got
way
it back
to
in,
determine
turned on your
distances
stream,
between the
and
front end
when
of
I
a
was on the
firearm
front
and
scene,
a
I could
clothing
see
item when a
that
shot is fired.
that
I perform fracture
the other
matches and
provider
also
of
provide
streams
expert
had
witness
already ended, so I
testimony.
thought that was strange.
Okay.
Well, I think they knew that this was going to take
And
a good amount of
basically
time,
you
so they
can
actually planned. I've heard
do
tell
some sort of
people do
testing that will
that.
test whether
Oh.
a fired cartridge casing or
That's-
projectile or
well,
fired bullet
I don't.
potentially came
What?
from a particular
In Texas?
firearm. Would that be correct?
I
Yes,
know.
that's
I'm
true.
confused if this is part of like
personally,
Texarkana. It's close to the Arkansas border or something.
Ms.
There
Kendrick,
has to be a
I'm going to
reason.
show you what has been marked as States Exhibit 167.
It's
Do you
it's
recognize this document?
it's weird. Yeah, and that's the big problem with all these cases because you can't teach the jury enough to understand the full field of your expertise. To just say we measure marks on the guns and it's
Yes, I do.
Okay.
we
And
do
This is just your report.
this
and your
amount of
conclusions.
training.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you actually made this report?
I did.
And you did the analysis?
I did.
Okay, and it's in your custody, this report,
Yes.
the original, is that correct?
Yes, the original is actually in our electronic laboratory information management system, but
Why are
Just-
we zooming into
Yes.
this guy?
All right. At this time, I'd like to offer to evidence State's Exhibit 167, the firearms report from April Kendrick. For all purposes.
Maybe he's a family member?
Submitted, you may publish.
Thank you.
Does he look
All
like the
right, Ms.
husband?
Kendrick, let's just get right into it. In your
No,
report,
well,
it's
sort
fairly
of.
simple.
He's on the defense. It could be the brother of the defendant.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use the screen over here, because I'm not sure why that screen's not coming up, but we'll go ahead and get started. Can you see the screen, Ms. Kendrick?
yes.
Okay.
Hang on.
Complainants, James William Faith. I'm not sure he had any complaints.
Yeah, and why can't they call him James so we don't get him confused with our Jamie? Feels
No,
like they're
yeah, because that's really annoying. But Chris isn't new. We have seen her on a few chats, but
yeah.
Sorry,
please,
we'll just have to
Salbert,
open it out.
don't scare her
We'll try to
away.
get somebody.
Yes.
Members of the jury, you'll have to, probably take it down.
Good morning, Wendy.
That one right there.
Hope it went
Is
well
she
with the
wearing
eye
a
doctor.
camo
Go ahead. Ms.
Thank
suit?
you so much. All right, Ms. Kendrick, we have
Yeah.
your report. You go ahead and start, but just if evidence
That is
submitted,
the
can
most
you just tell
Texas
the jury
thing I've
quickly
ever
what was submitted to
Texased
you
in my
by
life.
Dallas Police Department.
Yes, the items that were submitted by Dallas Police Department include a manila envelope,
Hey,
a
Jamie.
gun, a magazine, 2 additional manila envelopes.
They started like
and then
early.
submitted by the Dallas
It
County
was
Medical
ridiculous.
Examiner's Office were
Started-
5
Started
projectiles
10
from
minutes
autopsy.
before.
Okay.
Saw that.
Not all of this was tested. Some of it was tested.
Hey,
is that
Irish.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
What's
And
wrong with
next you
Texas? You were up
have,
early.
The testing performed
know.
too. Well, I guess let's go to page number 2. No, before we get to page number 2,
For the-
what was the evidence that you ended up testing?
I examined the gun, the magazine, and of that list of projectiles from autopsy, it's item 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9.
All right, and the testing performed, can you go ahead and just tell the jury what was the testing that you performed?
The testing that I performed was a mechanical evaluation of the firearm to determine if it was functional and safe to fire. And then during that examination, I also determined the class characteristics of that firearm, and that would include things such as the caliber. So I'm sure that you're familiar with caliber, whether it's a 45 auto or a 9mm Luger. And then there are some other features that I would establish by my examination of the firearm as well. For the projectiles, I examined those also, and again, determined some of those features, caliber and rifling characteristics of the firearm that would have fired them.
Let me
In-
let me pause you there. As far as the projectiles from the autopsy, so we're clear, these are literally bullets collected from the body.
Correct.
Okay, projectiles from the autopsy, bullets taken from the body of James Faith Jr., correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and when you talk about rifling, what do you mean? Can you explain to the
It's
jury
Texas.
what you mean
People
by
knows
this?
what
So
rifling
within
is.
the barrel of the firearm, and the barrel is the part that the bullet comes
If I
out of,
become ruler of
um,
the
there
world,
is
I'm
something
going
known
to
as
limit the
rifling,
use of
and it's just
literally.
a series of raised and lowered areas that twist either to the left
Isn't
or to
that
the right.
some kind of
That
valley
causes
grill?
the bullet to spin so that when
And
it
always
leaves
use
the
it
firearm,
figuratively.
it's flying straight. It's similar
Yes.
to putting a spin on a football when you
Good
throw the
morning,
football.
Oh,
Salbert.
I'm
It
We're so
Salbert,
happy
we
moves
to
the
love
see
ball
you.
so it flies straight. The same
Hi,
would be
Salbert.
true of the rifling in a firearm. And when a bullet passes through that barrel, the rifling is impressed or basically scratched onto the bullets that go through that firearm.
And these are some of the
She literally
characteristics that you
literally
picked, is that
did.
correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I know,
And
but
then can
it's
you go
been
ahead
used
and
so
tell the
terribly
jury
that
what-
I've developed a
Continue on the
kit.
testing that you performed.
So after I've established those features of the firearm and the features, or we call them class characteristics, of the fired projectiles,
Salbert.
if they are the same, Then I perform a microscopic comparison of little tiny patterns on the fired bullets collected from autopsy to test fired
never
bullets
said it.
that I
Yes.
created with that firearm.
Every stream from now on,
Right?
someone will try to
This is what
mess
we
with
have
your
here on
brain.
page 2 of your report, suitability and your microscopic
I
comparison.
thought I had that last
That's
night,
correct.
so
Okay, then you
I
move
think
into blind
I
verification.
passed the test. I thought before I
What's
spoke,
the blind
sort of,
verification?
possibly.
For
morning,
every
Kim.
comparison that I performed on the microscope, there is a second
Salbert,
examiner that
enough.
performs those same comparisons without knowledge of what my conclusions were in those comparisons. So after I finish the comparisons, the second examiner will have the evidence transferred to them. They will perform those same comparisons, come to their own conclusion, and then we will compare conclusions to establish whether or not we arrived at the same conclusion.
All right, and then after the blind verification, your results are item 5.7, which is a projectile from the autopsy was suitable to test. That's correct?
Correct?
And 5.8, another projectile from the autopsy removed from liver, suitable.
Yes.
And item 5.9, a fired bullet, suitable.
Correct.
Okay. And then you also list 14.1, the Smith & Wesson,
Better get down there.
serial number VAS 0598, 45 caliber, and it was functional.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And then item 14.2, magazine, Smith & Wesson magazine.
Yes.
Okay, and can you now tell the jury what was the testing that you did?
So I did
Amherst.
perform a microscopic comparison of those projectiles or bullets from autopsy
Good
Thank
to
you for
test
streaming
fires
us.
from the firearm. And
And
I
if you find the small
identified
gray men, tell
those
us.
bullets as having been fired.
Yeah, I
by
definitely
that
want,
firearm,
probably
and
want
that
to
is
do a
the
stream on
opinion of the
that.
laboratory.
If you want to come on
Just so we're
sometime,
clear,
that would be
You took the
awesome.
projectiles, did a microscopic comparison
Watch
from
I need to
out,
find it
the-
because
test fired from ammunition.
Joe
in your,
Goodluck, you got struck
lab.
for showing
Correct.
at
And your
a Congress
conclusions?
hearing.
Your conclusion here,
that actual crap.
that projectiles.
It was
fired
I really
from
need to
about
work
the
on my
FBI
Rueben.
and the
bullets
B
were
words.
identified as having been fired by item 14.1, the Smith & Wesson 45 caliber handgun, correct?
Yes, and that is an opinion.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kendrick, I appreciate it. I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
She wasn't going to take that long. They could have done that yesterday.
Ms. Kendrick, the way you look at these projectiles under a microscope,
It's set
It's,
for a
uh,
week.
it's not done by a computer, correct?
I don't know if that's
No.
with or without
It's
jury,
done
but
by
the
you
state could be
personally.
resting
Comparing the markings.
by the end of the day today then.
projectiles.
Yes.
Those projectiles.
Maybe tomorrow.
Receive those markings as they're
Yeah,
through the barrel, would that be correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I mean,
And a
to
lot of
not
these guys are
belabor
mass
the point, I
produced.
mean, they both sides
Oh, yes,
admit
they are
he
mass
did
produced.
it.
So at the factory. the
So
parts are
we're
put
really
together,
just
but they're
going
mass produced by
for
the same
levels
machines.
and
Is that true?
Correct.
And so that causes a lot of times going to have similar,
well,
or they can have similar markings on them, right?
They would have the same class characteristics, but the microscopic markings that I used for that comparison to determine whether it was or was not.
listen,
fired by
if
that
I have an
firearm,
accent
those
crush, it's
then-
on Critical Drinker and
that is
Mahler.
Different between firearms.
Just saying.
And the.
And
Well,
Mahler,
Scottish.
is it? Yeah,
how many
Mahler is a
points,
Cthulhu,
how many points do
thing,
you have to
so
have to make to
really,
say-
And you like tentacles.
That is not an approach that we take as
of
the
fury.
firearm
They must be
discipline. We
furious.
don't have a certain count that we have to arrive at. It's based on agreement of patterns.
Oh God, what was I
So
doing?
there are numerous lines basically that you can see when you're looking through the microscope. And if one line on the test fired bullet lines up with one line on the evidence bullet, I would not consider that to be an identification. What I'm looking for is patterns of lines, an agreement between those two patterns. But in terms of having a count that I need to reach, that's not an approach that we use.
And different examiners have different ways of deciding whether it matches or not?
It's all pattern matching. That's what we would consider it. So you have to use pattern matching in order to establish whether it was or was not fired by that firearm. There are some labs that
Okay,
might
creepy
use
guy is
counting,
Andre
as
the
an
Giant's
approach
love child
to
is still
reach a
there.
conclusion, but
Changed my
that's
mind.
not generally accepted by the field of firearm and tool mark identification.
And who's the person that verified your results?
That's Heather Francis.
And,
Pink
and
shirt
again,
under
she
black
was
shirt.
listing
Interesting combination.
building
I don't know
and
why we're focusing on these
the other
people. I
thing
feel
else is
like.
that also have somebody outside of your office,
Because
to be
tool markings are boring.
No, that would be up
Well,
to
true,
somebody
but
agency
I'd
or
like
someone
some
else
sense
to
when
look
we're
at it.
focusing on weird
Their
things.
decision.
But I
But
like
even if, let's
he's
say, you
asking
get
good
agreement
questions about
and
tool
your
marks.
conclusions.
I do
you
like,
would
yeah, I like
send
that
it
it
to there has
can
to
be
be a
used to
on it. If
exclude
you
or
work in
include,
the
but
same
not
building,
be a,
No, we would have our
End all
third
be all.
examiner look at it.
yeah.
And then if
Dance
agreement
instructor
still
is
could not be
here till the
reached, that would
end.
be addressed by our chief of physical evidence.
And again, someone that still works in the same building.
Correct.
Has to.
Just one question.
Needs to work on those traps though.
Related to whatever the
A little
evidence is, could pay to have that tested as well on their own, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
It should be finally excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I like
No
that
objection.
No objection.
they're talking about this. Everyone can use it, so it's not just a police-friendly lab.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay, I guess it's not a camo suit.
It looks kind of like a rock you will have in the back of the car when you're going to the
Yeah.
dump.
Your Honor,
I-
But
to offer
while
into
while we
evidence
have
by agreement,
a small
stipulation
break,
of evidence,
let's all say hi to
States
Jamie.
Exhibit 187.
Thank you so much for showing up, Jamie. You just made this screen 200% better.
187 is admitted.
Yes.
Pursuant to this stipulation, I want to offer
Everyone,
into
say hi
evidence
to
the
Jamie.
serology report.
She's doing all the work.
Hello.
We are just pushing
Institute of
buttons.
Forensic Science,
Jamie
which
does
is
the hard work. I need to
168.
put
I'd like to offer in the report.
Jamie in the
Okay.
title too.
It's admitted, you may publish.
Thank you. At this time, the state calls Amanda Webb.
Thank you so much for liking on MoStream too.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I am just a semi-professional YouTuber that is trying to get my Sarah Boone money.
We're just hanging on till the Sarah Boone trial starts so we can be millionaires. Then we're going to quit.
Yeah, I was led to believe that I have a racket of sorts.
Please come to the front of the courtroom, and before you have a seat, turn and face me and raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth. Please have a seat. And responding to questions from Ms. Mitchell, that's also Mr. Sanchez to your left. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Good morning.
How are you?
Jamie
Yeah,
is
thank
the
you.
dance instructor, your
Can you
friend?
please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Amanda Webb, Amanda. Last name Webb.
And Ms. Webb, for whom you work,
I work for SWIFT, the Dallas County Crime Laboratory.
and the jury's just heard about that. So you work in the same building as April Kendrick.
Yes, I do.
Right, and what do you do for
Okay,
Swiss?
wherever they got their
I
hair
work
done,
in
it's
the
very
biology
cute.
unit. Specifically, my daily duties are performing DNA analysis.
Can you just go ahead and briefly explain
What is DNA?
what you're asked to do in a DNA analysis without getting too complicated?
Yes, so and for DNA testing, the majority of our work is performing DNA analysis on evidence that's collected from a crime scene, trying to obtain DNA profiles from that evidence and compare any
You
DNA
had-
profiles.
Didn't you have DNA? No, you had
to
only
the
had
DNA
GPS yesterday.
profiles of a
And
known
I was
individual
We had-
on with
to determine if
I was on
they're
with the expert when they had
Yeah.
DNA.
I was about to say, so we have DNA, we had
contributed.
or no, we didn't have DNA. We had
Before
like the
you
cell phone
start
thing,
your
we
testimony,
had
there's usually
their
phone calls.
texts,
Is that correct?
and
Yes.
the defense got a
And
lot of
evidence became
details
you
about the case in
responsible
through
for doing
the
this attack
main
process.
investigator
So,
that I
this
think
evidence goes to
they
serology
skirted just
first,
the line
and then
of
it's
what
suitable, it
they
moves
could talk about
towards
without
pathology.
going past a
Yes, so the forensic
motion
biology
to
department
bring in
actually
the
has multiple
co-conspirator
sections.
stuff.
So the
Okay.
serology
So,
unit is under
I mean, it
biology
was
as well.
really
And we
interesting. I
have-
mean, they skirted that line, not
so
being
when
a
evidence
legal
comes in
person.
with a request for
Not like
biology,
Bradley.
It is first assigned
I
to
opened
a
the door.
serologist.
You can't open the
Yeah.
door.
Serology very simply is the testing for biological fluids such as blood. And that
Well,
unit will
Kenosha-
discuss with the detective what type of testing
I'm only
they're
pre-plea
requesting
law
to be done.
and pre-realtor.
And then they will get that evidence
But
and they
I
will
think I could
perform
do a
that
better
testing.
job than
For
Kenosha.
example, screening evidence for the presence of blood. And they will collect samples that are then sent forward to DNA.
Yeah, Sal,
So those
please
types of samples
write
can
something on
be
the
samples
keyboard.
that test positive for blood, or they can be just samples that are collected for potential touch DNA or handler DNA, as well as what you can
Sal,
consider
but
wear
it's
DNA.
too early.
DNA from areas on clothing you might have worn.
It really
All
is.
those types of samples are
Wasn't it-
looking
And
for
while-
It was on
any type of DNA.
this
that
case,
might be
the lady had
present
the
from,
blowout
um,
before trial
skin
yesterday, wasn't
cells,
it?
from sweat,
Yeah,
saliva, any
yeah,
of those things can be
The
present.
hair game is good in Dallas.
Okay, and they do if you're
Well,
familiar.
y'all,
they do
I'm
a
going to leave you
presumptive
here. I will be
test.
listening, but I get to
Yes,
go take
there's
someone
two
for an
types
eyeglass
of testing
appointment.
for
It'll be
blood.
awesome.
The first
Have
test is a
fun.
presumptive test.
Yay.
So it is like a screening tool. This is a chemical color change test, and they will take a cotton swab, kind of like a Q-tip, and you rub it over the surface of an item. Or if the evidence item is a swab, they will roll that onto a piece of paper, and they add chemicals. And they look for a color change. That color change is a positive test result. And we call this a presumptive test because it will give a positive result for blood, but also other items can give you a positive result as well. So it is not confirmatory for blood. It just suggests the presence of blood. It also tests positive for human blood as well as animal blood. If there is enough sample there, there's a large enough stain, they will then proceed to perform a confirmatory test. And
I'm
that
sorry,
test
but
is
why do we
confirmatory for the
always
presence
have
of
to
human
go
blood.
through
This isn't
the
performed
total
on
DNA
every piece
Bible?
of item
Just
because
say
it does
we
consume
check
part of that
stuff,
sample.
and if there's
So if
enough,
it's a
we can
small
test it.
stain,
Why
then
must
they
it
will
take 20
preserve
minutes?
that sample for DNA instead of performing that test.
You also label them the same. Is that correct? So it kind of makes it easier to refer back and forth in between the reports.
So in the DNA, I'm sorry, for as far as the item name goes, is that what you're?
12.1.1.
Yes, so evidence items that come into the laboratory keep that same item number. So if an item number, for example, item number 1 is a shirt, that same item number 1 shirt is in serology, and any samples they collect from that
Just
first
make it
number
so
is
we
still
can
gonna be
understand
item
it.
1, and then they may add an
It seems like a
additional
skill. You
number
have to be
after
drunk
that
to get it.
for the sample that they collect from that shirt, and that will go forward to DNA.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I swear, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 169.
69.
Can you review that and make sure it's correct?
Yeah, I'm that childish.
That's fine. Me too.
Efficient, two-handed. Why is this suit Sybil Shepherd has on today? It just looks like a rock. You have
Yes, this is a
Well, the dog
copy
in
of
the
a
car.
DNA report that I issued in this case.
It does.
And you did this report?
It looks uncomfortable. Looks scratchy.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer the evidence, State's 169.
No objection, we've seen it.
for all
It's probably the same kind of girls who
2 minutes
like to
for
go
all
into that
purposes.
field
Thank you.
because yeah, everyone has this kind of happy-go-lucky way of talking.
I'm gonna go
We're
back
afraid
the
to bring you
serology
on with
report.
all
Let's
these
start
cute
with the DNA
experts because you
report
just had a Betubian moment.
that you did, and I want to. Oops.
You just add
We
it.
start with what was this list of things that were submitted to you.
Yes,
Okay.
this list of evidence items are items that were requested for DNA testing.
Okay, and then all of this was requested for DNA testing, and all of this was tested. Is that correct?
Well, some of us
That's
need
correct.
2 hands.
And then what you received
It's
for
for
blood
when you're
standards
making buns.
Yeah.
from James Faith Jr. Is that correct, from the autopsy?
Yes, I did receive. an
I was
autopsy
watching her
blood
for
standard
30
from
minutes
James
yesterday
Faith
and
Jr.
couldn't get it out of my
And
brain
the
where
DNA testing,
that she
correct?
looked like her,
That
but I couldn't
sample is
remember her
what we
name.
would use to obtain the known DNA profile of James Faith Jr. to
You
compare
were
to
right.
the evidence samples.
Okay,
And she looked real rough in the afternoon.
now,
She looked
can you
like she
please
had a
explain to
little
the jury
lunch.
how you do your testing?
The process of
We have seen how
testing for
lawyers
DNA
handle their liquor, so
we take a small sample
At least she
from
didn't
what
call
we're
someone.
given. So if it's a swab, we take a small cutting from that, and we will add it to a tube, and we add chemicals to that tube. And this will help break open the cells and release the DNA. We will then use more chemicals to clean up that sample to rid it of all the extraneous materials that are found in the cells. And then once we have a purified DNA extract, we will put it on an instrument that tells us how much DNA is present. The next step is then to put the sample through a process on an instrument that kind of functions like a Xerox machine. So it'll make a whole bunch of copies of any DNA that's present in the sample. And then finally, we put that sample onto what we call a genetic analyzer. It's an instrument that helps us to visualize the DNA profile. At that time, we perform that process for all of the evidence samples, as well as the known individuals, for example, the blood standard or a buccal swab standard from any known individuals in the case. We will
She could
then
use a bit of lipstick
look at each sample and determine how many people contributed DNA.
or different
Is
color.
it from a single source, a single person's DNA profile? Or is it a mixture of DNA from 2, 3, or more contributors? And then once we have looked at all of those evidence DNA profiles, we will then compare the known DNA profiles to see if they're included or excluded.
Okay, so this is what we have on your second page is exactly what you were talking about, whether it's a complete profile, incomplete profile, and a single source.
Yes, this table will tell you the number of contributors, the profile category, what that means on that very right. A single source is from one person. If it is a mixture of DNA, there's different ways we can look at that mixture. If we look at that mixture and determine that one person contributed more DNA than a second person, and we're able to separate out those DNA profiles, then we call that a major minor. So a major contributor, somebody contributed more DNA, and a minor contributor for the person that contributed a lower amount. If we're not able to make that separation, you will see for some of those samples, it
That's
says
why the
simple
Lord
mixture.
invented coffee.
And that just means it's a mixture of DNA that was not able to be separated out.
Did you already explain complete versus possibly incomplete?
I have not yet. So for that description of profile column,
And welcome.
you have 3 options that you'll see here: complete, incomplete, or possibly incomplete. So a complete DNA profile means that we are seeing all of the genetic information that we would expect to see for that number of contributors that is in that next column. Incomplete means we know that there's genetic information that's missing. We do not have a complete DNA profile. And possibly incomplete means that we are not able to tell there is potentially genetic information missing. So it's possibly incomplete.
In the
Okay, but you can still
business
test.
trial yesterday, there was an
Yes,
implement
if it's
of
possibly
pleasure
incomplete,
with
that does not
3
mean
sets
we
of
can't
DNA
interpret
on it.
that DNA profile. It's
At
just
least
a way of
wash your
describing the profile.
implements of pleasure.
And then on your third, 4 of 8, it says 4 of 8. These are basically your conclusions. And what I want to focus on is, well, just generally, you have 2 columns up top, correct? You have the samples with the numbers, and then you have the name James Faith Jr., and then the name Darrin Lopez, correct?
Yes,
You've got excluded,
yes.
and included, and then a certain number. Can you explain before we get into it what that means?
Yes. So for the individuals tab, those are the people that we were given known DNA standards for to compare to the evidence. As you go down the column for each person, that will tell you if they are excluded as being a possible contributor, so they could not have contributed DNA to that sample, or if they are included. And you will see that anytime somebody is included as a possible contributor, we give a statistic. And what that statistic here tells you is that if you were to randomly select an individual and compare them to this DNA profile, what is the number of people that would potentially be included as a contributor in that same way? Those statistics can range from, you see here, there's a number less than 1 in 10 trillion. So that is the strongest statistic that our laboratory reports out. What that means is that if you were to randomly select an individual and compare them to this DNA profile, you would have to have more than 10 trillion people before you'd expect another person to also match that DNA profile in the same way.
I like that they use,
So to put that
they
into
show
a bit of
these numbers.
perspective,
This
we
was
have
my
just under
problem
8
in
million people
the
on
Anderson
Earth right
case
now.
and
So you would have to
which
have
well the other
more
case
than
we were,
1,200
where
of
they
the
said,
Earth's
well,
population
it's more
before you'd expect
more
another
likely.
person to match in that
More
same way.
likely is what? That's more than
The statistics can
50%.
go all the way down to
likely.
something such as,
But
here you see
10
a 1
trillion
in 2
or
statistic. And what that 1 in 2 means is that, again, if you were
8.58
to randomly
children,
select an individual
gazillion,
and
I
compare
don't know
them
how
to that
much.
profile, 1 out of every 2 people would be included in that same way.
Yeah.
So, for example, half of this courtroom for a 1 in 2 statistic would potentially be included as a possible contributor.
So that's not strong.
And what I want to focus on is at the bottom, we have 11.7.1. And we we have stain swab, and you have quotes, ... slide stop, close quote. Right?
Yes.
Okay, and that slide stop is actually from a swab from a gun, correct?
Don't get
That
self-appointing.
sample was submitted to us as a swab. So as we talked about, kind of like the Q-tip that you can picture in your head.
It's
it was
really
submitted
bad
to the
that
laboratory
1
as a
in
swab
10
that was
trillion
labeled
is
as slide
the
stop.
victim's DNA on the slide of the
And
gun.
the conclusions on this one is
That's-
under
that's
James
pretty
Faith Jr.,
conclusive.
that swab from the slide stop is the one in more than 1 in 10 trillion. Is that right?
That sample, the results for that sample are that the DNA profile obtained from that sample was from a single male and matched the DNA profile of James Faith Jr. And yes,
Or
that statistic
mono-sounded and put
for,
one in 1 year and
including
one
him
in
in
the
that
other year.
sample is less than 1 in 10 trillion. So you would have to have more than 10
If it's
trillion
politicians
people
talking
before
about
you'd expect
UFOs, it's
another
probably
person
going
to
to be
also
boring.
match that DNA profile in the same way.
And it's also just what you said before, the highest possible figure
Hey,
that you
Dennis,
report out. Is
welcome.
that correct?
That is the strongest statistic that our laboratory reports out.
Okay. And then under the same 11.7.1 on Darrin Lopez, we have excluded. So
That's
his
correct.
genetic profile was not found at all.
He was excluded as being a contributor to that sample.
Okay. And then the same for 12.1.1, we have stained swabs right under 11.7.1, quote, slide/trigger guard. And in that one, we have the same. Under James Faith, we have less than 1 in 10 trillion, the strongest statistic that you report out. And under Darrin Lopez, we have excluded, correct?
Yes, that DNA profile, again, was from a single male that matched the DNA profile of James Faith Jr. with that less than 1 in 10 trillion statistic, and Darrin Lopez was excluded.
Okay. Now, and also, just for the record, because we put this report in, on the serology report,
No, you will always try to, your brain tries to listen to both of them, so you
on
can't do that.
page
But
4 of
you
7,
can
and
always
again, this is not your
replay
report,
my
but it is in
stream and then
evidence.
go and replay Mo's stream or the other way around. And then go find out if they found the
Under-
aliens. And come back and tell us if Area 51 really is a hangar of UFOs.
We have 11.007.001,
Probably
if you can see where my pen is. You'll have to look here. Can you see that on the screen?
Yes.
Or you can turn,
Right,
it might
trigger
be on
guard.
your screen right there as well. Okay.
Yes, and I have that report in front of me as well.
Okay. And so we have that. If you go over, sorry. If you turn the page, the
It's
testing performed in this column here, presumptive or confirmatory, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
it's
So
like
on
someone said earlier, all
11.7.1,
these DNA
have
experts
presumptive
talk in
and
the same,
confirmatory. Would you agree with
annoying
that?
way.
What those results indicate is that that sample tested positive with the presumptive
Is that
test for
a
blood.
club near your your
In the
house or
confirmatory
what's-
column, you see a
Oh, what'd
Q.
you see?
And what that means is quantity not sufficient. So that confirmatory test was not performed because it was determined that there was not enough sample to
It's
perform that
literally
test. They
a
preserved
UFO
the
hangar.
sample for DNA.
Okay, and the same thing with 12 point. Sorry,
But a flying saucer then,
11.7.1 and then 12.1.1.
Lefty. I'm trying to
We have
keep
the
this a bit
same thing
highbrow
under
today.
12.1.1
And you
swabs,
go right here.
slide trigger guard.
Yeah,
Sure.
so the serology results for sample 12.1.1 are the same as just
Well,
discussed.
I have
That
the
presumptive test was
responsibility to
positive,
keep it
but
clean
not
because
enough
oh,
quantity to
that's-
perform the
Okay,
test.
sure.
Okay, but you can still
Here's a-
perform a
a
genetic
lady.
testing on those swabs.
Yes, we are still able to perform DNA analysis.
Okay, and you were able to get a genetic profile and reach
All these
conclusions
college
on
girls
those
really
swabs, correct?
pronounce it
Yes, I
their
know.
itis. It gets to me.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Webb. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Webb, did you do anything else other than what you testified to?
No, I'm just gonna send Farrell after you when
No,
she
I did
wakes
not
up.
perform any additional testing on other items in this case. I issued this one DNA report.
That's all I have.
We should be finally excused.
Oh, no.
Again,
Okay, Sharon.
no 20 minutes of yada yadaing.
Before you.
Sure.
It's just straight to the point. Bang, bang, bang. Let's get the info out here. We've been going for 35 minutes. We have done 2 expert witnesses. In the Texas case, we had a a voir dire of the witnesses for maybe 3
Please
hours.
make sure that
Then
you
we
don't
had
have
them.
any exhibits in your documents over there, okay? Check for a state, check for a state sticker.
Oh, and then for 3 hours they had to go through it
Of course you
again
can.
before the jury. I really like this case. It's really nice to see them. This is kind of like the cases we have in Denmark. It's just that's how cases should go. You don't bore the jury to death with this, because yeah, she talked maybe half the time about her expertise, but it was easy to understand, and I know they have to lay a foundation, but I really can't understand why they can't have some kind of easy way to say it before the jury, so you don't bore them to tears.
I agree.
Well, if you go and see this your business trial, if you just have enough small knife, you can do a lot of work.
Apparently. Ugh.
Yeah, and funny, I took 45 minutes with the expert yesterday after we done streaming, and nothing happens in that trial. It's boring.
Yeah.
I know all the gruesome Hello,
Before you have a seat, could you please turn and face me?
What?
You swear the testimony you're about to give.
Salbert down.
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat. Please call the questions from Ms. Mitchell and pass off to Mr. Sanchez.
She has-
Duke to your left. You may proceed.
Have she been out clubbing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
You too.
Can you please?
What is that?
State spelling name for the record.
That's different.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Jessica Dwyer. That's Jessica. D as in dog, Wyer.
And Dr. Dwyer, for whom do you work?
I am a staff forensic pathologist for the Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office, which is a branch of the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Sciences.
I didn't get
Also known
the
as
spelling of
SWIFS.
the last name.
And you are a medical examiner.
W-E.
What a medical examiner does.
So a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist are the same thing, just different names. As a forensic pathologist, our duty is to determine a cause and manner of deaths for deaths that occur within the jurisdiction, namely deaths that occur suddenly, unexpectedly, traumatically, or non-naturally. And we do that by performing postmortem examinations, also known as autopsies.
All right. And generally, how do you start an autopsy?
I was just staring at that
Well,
outfit.
the process starts, the body,
like cutouts
the
all the
decedent
way
is
down.
reported to the office. The body is then ordered to our office. It goes to the morgue. And when the autopsy begins, we work side by side with an autopsy technician. The autopsy technician will go and retrieve the body from the cooler. We will weigh and measure the length of the body. We will do radiographs or x-rays, depending on what type of case it is. And then the body is brought to the examination
You can
table.
change the Salbert, I'm
And the
sure.
first part of the autopsy is what's called an external examination. So we will document
Yeah,
the
I think
condition
it's
of the
cute.
body with photographs before we do anything. So we call those as-is photographs. After that, I start on one corner
Phonetically,
of the
you
body
used
and
to
work my way
no,
up to the
that's
head
Delta.
and go down the other side of the body,
But
essentially
don't continue.
documenting any evidence of trauma, natural disease, any evidence
I
or
really
any
should get these
potentially
American.
identifying features like hair color, eye color, tattoos, scars, etc. And then once we're done with the external examination, we'll then commence the internal examination, which
With a
if you've
dress
ever
like
watched
that?
a crime show, you've probably been familiar with the
I don't know.
Y-shaped incision. We
Indigo.
will perform
Go
on the
check it.
chest and the abdomen to access the organs. We will also remove the top of the skull to examine the brain.
A really pretty
We
face.
examine all of the organs again for any evidence of natural
Why is,
disease, trauma,
this,
anything pertinent to the case.
The other one had the
Following the examination of the organs, the body,
light
the
color. I
organs
don't
get
know how to
returned
say
into
it.
the
Lipstick
body.
that makes
and
their
the
lips
autopsy
look
is
gray. I don't think
Lipstick.
that's.
Um,
They could use a little color.
May I
I like
approach
that.
the bench, Your Honor?
Sure.
You want to say, Dr. Dwyer? Sure.
Yeah, that heart. It's so annoying when you're on your iPad.
Mhm.
I have to lift up the chat if I have to see what people write in it. It's not just like my government. I like YouTube. It's our overlords, but still. Yeah, right. Me and Josie think she's cute.
I said I think she's got a really pretty face.
Oh, we are learning together. Indigo thinks she's cute too. So
That
get
outfit.
some coffee. Really get some coffee. You need it today. So you're a lesbian, Sal, but
Dr. Dwyer, I'm going to show you this marked as State's Exhibit 170. Do you recognize this document?
I don't care for the hair though. But whatever.
if you have the face for it, you can have a pixie cut like that. I think she can wear it. It looks pretty good.
Terrible, but it's not my favorite.
But there are people who shouldn't have it.
And did you create?
Oh yeah.
I did, yes.
All right. And you
It's
did
the
not
same
copy,
thing with those.
under this
I don't-
IFS
I don't know
number,
what
which
it's
I've
called,
got now,
cornrow
IFS
braids where you
218867,
braid
correct?
two pigtails
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
over
and
your
our
head.
IFS number
Oh, yeah.
follows,
Some girls that look really pretty
all
on.
testing throughout
My
Swiss.
oldest daughter,
it's a
she
unique
can
identifying
make it
number
look
for
real
the
pretty,
student.
but some
And you did
it
this
just
report based
it's
on the
not a good
autopsy of James
good look
Spade
for a lot of
Jr.
girls. You have to have a slim face
You did this
to
report
carry
After
that.
near the time of the
Yeah.
autopsy, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it has been in custody of.
It's
Swiss.
Dallas.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been told it's the bluest city in
State's Exhibit
in
170,
Texas,
the
so
autopsy.
No objection, Your Honor.
she probably have a rainbow or two.
Thank you.
Oh, Lofty.
Yeah. See, I'm right because all the women thinks I'm right. And women are never wrong.
Yeah, first one more time.
I really hope to grow my female audience by saying stuff like that.
Pretty much all you have, a lot of what you have.
71.
I'm only 85% female audience.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's because I have the Danish politician stuff too. So the first 50 people on my channel, that I think that was around 40% female.
186. You don't think those-
And then I hit the big times. But it's because I know what the ladies want. A flowered shirt and confirmation that they are never wrong.
And tell us we're pretty.
You are so pretty.
That's
Have everyone seen
all-
Jamie's lashes?
Those photos taken.
Søren made a stupid video about eyebrows, but it's really the lashes.
Evidence, State's Exhibit 2 for all purposes.
That's why Søren
as well as State's Exhibit
doesn't show up anymore.
71 and
Where is he?
186 for all purposes.
No, it's Dallas. Isn't it Indigo?
Yeah, it's Dallas.
Lefty, it's not the tactic.
Lefty.
Yeah, see who shows up when you start bad mouthing women.
Not hard to get along with us.
They're admitted, you may publish.
Enough chocolate and distance, and you're fine.
Okay, Dr. Dwyer, let's start with your report.
Salbert,
And again, we have the
At
first
this
page of the
point,
report with the IFS
with the
number
dating
on
history
here,
you have,
the decedent being James Spade Jr., correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
what's this a little friendly stabbing?
You
Yeah.
start with an external examination,
Correct.
okay? And you've already talked to the jury about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you get the weight and you get the length.
Yes, ma'am.
We move to page 2, and again, you're doing the
Exactly.
external examination,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you
You can never go wrong with that.
talk about the evidence of injury. Can you explain?
My
The
training
evidence of
buddy,
injury in
she's
this particular
every day.
report.
It's
Yes.
when are you gonna
So,
bake the next
From
time?
external examination
just
and
got cake
subsequently his
3
internal
days ago.
examination as well.
Yeah, but
there are
I
a
ate
total
it
of
without
7
giving any
gunshot
to my
wounds that
children.
I
So
identified.
when are you gonna make something for my children?
All right, and let's go over you have 3 penetrating gunshot wounds of the head,
Yes.
okay? And do you break those out? All right, let's talk about the 3 penetrating gunshot wounds of the head. Can you
My
explain
daughter
those?
was
So the
talking
reason
about
why
getting
I have 3 kind of
side
clustered
shape
in the same
when it just got
description is
popular.
because they are all
Thank
within
God.
a very similar anatomic area,
didn't
and
go
their
that way.
wound paths are both intersecting and overlapping. So to make it easier to explain, the paths are kind of described in aggregate.
Yeah, Lefty,
So
but
there are a total of 3 gunshot
at least they
wounds
don't
of
throw
the head.
stuff at you, as you
More
say. They're pretty.
specifically, there are 3 gunshot entrance wounds on the left side of his head, kind of around the left ear area.
Okay, and we'll get to the photos, but let's discuss in aggregate, if you want to talk about that. That would be easier to explain.
Sure.
Okay.
You want me to discuss the injuries in aggregate, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, there are 3 entrance wounds kind of on the left side of his head around the left ear area. In aggregate, there are 3 bullets that penetrate the skin, the subcutaneous soft tissues, and the muscle of this part of the head. They actually fracture the skull, enter what's called the cranium, which is where the brain sits. It penetrates the brain, specifically the cerebral hemispheres and the cerebellum.
Sorry, Salbert.
hemispheres, and it
She's married and
transects
she
the
even got a little
brainstem,
heart
which is
tattoo on
essentially
her
what connects the spinal
marriage
cord to the
finger.
brain.
Another one.
And generally, in states exhibits 173, 174, 175, and 176, do we show what you're describing in here?
Yes, this is a picture of the left side of his head.
Thank you for showing that on.
Okay, and can you describe in states 173 what you were taking a picture of?
So there's 3 gunshot wounds. You can't really see the one just above his ear because it's covered by hair, but there is another photo where that has been shaved. But he has a gunshot entrance wound just above his ear. He has one centered on his left external ear, and then he has another one just below the left ear.
Okay, so this is what
So
you're
he's
saying,
been
they're very
shot pretty
clustered
fast.
together.
Yes,
And so they're sort of taking the same routes. The
Yes.
bullet goes in.
yes.
Okay. Here we have States Exhibit 174. And here we can see better with the head shaved, the,
Actually, if you turn it to where that large sticker is, yeah, yep, that's anatomically correct. So this is a photograph of the gunshot wound that's just above his ear that was previously
Yeah,
covered
he's
by
sitting in the
hair
room again
the
today.
picture
It
just
still
before
looks
it.
creepy as
And now I have
something.
shaved the hair around that entrance wound just so you can see it better.
okay, and States Exhibit 175, we get a closer of the one that actually went into the external left ear.
That's correct.
Salbert is busy right now.
And then 176, this is going to be the one below the ear.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we go back to 173, it makes a little bit more sense now.
Yes, ma'am.
The gunshot wound up here, the one here, and the one down here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Can you just generally talk about, well, do you recover
It's because we
fragments
like
at that point
Salbert.
during the autopsy
Yes.
from this area?
Bullet fragments were recovered from
He
the
makes
brain.
us look normal.
All right. And can you generally talk about the paths of the bullet or predominantly rightward?
The paths of all 3 bullets are essentially rightward, so from left to right.
Okay. And the injury associated with that?
Yeah, so in addition to the injuries directly caused by the bullets, there are other injuries that are associated, including there's hemorrhage underneath the scalp. There is hemorrhage on the surface of the brain, within the brain. There are fractures of the skull and the base of the skull. And essentially there are also bruises on the brain, or we call contusions of the brain.
Okay. With these 3 gunshots alone, likely you killed him instantly.
Yes.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 2. And can you
That's
describe what
normally
this
how they
photo
do it
is?
in Dallas.
So
Back
this is what
and to
we
the
call
left.
an as-is, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
Back.
This is an
and to the
identification photo. So every decedent that we examine will
You're
have
too
a
young to know
photograph
that
of
movie
just their
reference,
face with the
Jamie.
unique identifying number assigned to them by our facility. And in the purposes of, they need to be identified visually.
Okay, so this number IFS 218867 is going to correlate with the IFS number on the report.
Yes, ma'am.
And the IFS number means Institute of Forensic Science.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go to States Exhibit 171. Can you describe that picture?
So this is an as-is photograph. Essentially, when we open the body bag, before we do anything with the body, we will photograph the condition of the body. This is the upper half of his body from the head to the trunk, essentially. Again, with the
Some
unique
of
identifying
us are
number for the decedent.
chunkosauruses. Don't mention stuff
And-
like that.
172, just be the
Hey,
bottom.
Gigi, welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Now, back to the report, we then move, and you separate it out a little more, the gunshot wounds to the trunk.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you go ahead and talk about the gunshot wound, the first gunshot wound to his trunk, where it was?
Yes. So in addition to the 3 gunshot wounds of the head, there are then additional gunshot wounds of the trunk, which is the anatomic area comprising the chest and the abdomen. So I arbitrarily number them for organizational purposes. And the first one that I numbered as penetrating gunshot wound number 1 is on the right side of the upper chest. That's where the entrance wound is.
Okay, is this going to be in states 179?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you describe just exactly what we described before? Path, what you recovered from it, and the injury caused.
So he walked up to
So
him,
the bullet
blank,
enters
blank,
the right
blank,
side of the chest,
walked
goes through
over
the
to him on
skin,
the floor,
subcutaneous
blank,
soft
blank,
tissues,
blank,
and muscle of the right side of
and
the
then
chest.
went to
It
the
then enters the
downstairs
right
area.
chest cavity where the lung sits. And it does penetrate a part of the lung, the right hemidiaphragm, which is a sheet of muscle that sits between the lung, the chest, and the abdomen, and also penetrates parts of the liver. And we did recover a jacketed bullet from the liver. So the path would be backward, downward, and slightly rightward.
Yeah, that's the execution
Okay,
style.
and
That's
the injuries associated with this?
Yes. So there is a contusion of the right lung, and there's also blood within the right chest and blood within the abdominal cavity.
Now let's move to penetrating gunshot wound of the trunk number 2.
So
Where it was.
the entrance wound is on the kind of the posterolateral aspect of the left side of the chest. That's where the entrance wound is. The bullet penetrates the skin, subcutaneous soft tissues, and muscles of the left side of the chest. It also enters the left chest cavity where the left lung sits.
Hang on, Dr. Dwyer. I'm just going to show you State's Exhibit number 181. Would this be this one?
Yes, ma'am.
This one up here?
No, the one where the sticker
The
is.
bottom?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's the gunshot wound that we're talking about on the body,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
trunk, okay?
Sorry, I got lost in my.
That was my fault. I
This
apologize.
is the so this is penetrating gunshot wound number 1. The bullet penetrates the skin, subcutaneous soft tissues, muscles of the left side of the chest, enters the left chest cavity. It then penetrates the heart and the descending thoracic aorta, which the aorta is the largest artery in the body. And we recovered a jacketed bullet from the soft tissues kind of around the heart. And so the path of this bullet is rightward, upward, and forward. And injuries associated with this gunshot wound include contusions of the left lung. There is blood within the sac that sits around the heart. And there is hemorrhage within the soft tissues, essentially around the heart and the aorta.
Okay, and the path of this one is rightward, upward, and forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That'll-
Now, you have in here that there
How the hell did
are
he shoot him?
approximately 220 cc's of blood remaining within the pericardial sac. Why do you make a notation of that?
Yeah,
So
he used to
there's
be a
blood
medic.
within the pericardial sac. So the pericardial sac is
in the
what
in the special
it
forces.
surrounds the heart. When it fills with blood, it can sometimes impede the heart from pumping correctly. And I said remaining within the sac because there are holes in the pericardium, so blood is also coming out. So that's all that's remaining, and there is potentially more at one point.
Let's move to penetrating gunshot wound of the trunk number 3. And this is going to be on State's Exhibit 182, where the sticker is. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you do the same as the other ones described?
Yes, ma'am. So this gunshot wound, the entrance is on the lateral aspect of the left side of the chest. This bullet also penetrates the skin, subcutaneous soft tissues, and muscles of the left side of the chest. It actually enters the abdominal cavity, not the left chest cavity.
So he shot 5 times
where
from
it then
behind.
penetrates the left hemidiaphragm,
And
which
one
again
time
is the muscle that sits between
in
the
the front.
chest and the abdomen, the spleen, the stomach, the omentum, part of the colon, which is the large intestines, the liver, the right hemidiaphragm, and essentially goes out the right side of the chest. And we recovered a jacketed bullet within the right chest cavity. It was just freely floating in the cavity.
Okay, and injuries associated?
Oh, sorry, yes. Again, there's blood within the abdomen. There's about 100 cc's. and there is blood within the right chest cavity.
It sounds like he's walking up to him, doing the 3,
Then,
and maybe as he's going down,
okay, I'm sorry. And then you
do the
have
2 in the left side, and when he's
gunshot
on the
wound to the
ground,
right
he does
thigh.
the
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
right
You
chest,
called it
and
perforating
then
gunshot wound to the right thigh.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
then
This is
the
what we're going to see in States Exhibit 185.
sticks and the twigs.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and can you explain what you mean by perforating gunshot wound to the right thigh?
So the previous gunshot wounds have all been penetrating because they have an entrance and a bullet recovered from the body. Perforating, however, implies that there is both an entrance and an exit wound on the body, so there's no bullet remaining within that bullet
Frank
tract.
and Beans.
So
area.
the perforating gunshot wound of the right thigh, the entrance is actually in the right groin area. You can see there's a dark circle. That's the entrance wound. That large abrasion that's kind of more oval shaped is just an abrasion from the bullet going against the skin. It's an area where skin folds on skin. So we call that intertriginous skin. So it's just an injury as the bullet is entering the right thigh. So this particular bullet enters the right thigh, penetrates the skin, subcutaneous soft tissues, and muscles of the right thigh, and it exits out the lateral aspect of the right thigh. And so the path is essentially rightward and backward.
Yeah, so 5 from behind and 2 from the front. Which of one of them is
These gunshot wounds,
in
and I'm
the
sorry, I should have noted this
Frank and
earlier.
Beans
Was there
area?
soot or stippling on these gunshot wounds?
None of them have soot or stippling, so we would designate the ranges as indeterminate.
Okay, and indeterminate could mean, can you give any kind of?
that
Sure.
they can't
So
determine?
when we talk about soot or gunpowder stippling, what we always will we will note if it's present or not. When a gun is fired, in addition to a bullet, there is also gas, hot gas, soot, and gunpowder particles that get ejected as in addition to the bullet. And depending how far away the victim is from the gun when it's fired, you may see soot or stippling from the gunpowder particles, indicative of how far away the victim may be. In this instance, there is no soot, there is no stippling, so it's either the victim is too far away for there to be, so we would say that it's a distant range, or that there is some sort of intermediary target.
And let's go to States Exhibit. I believe you talk about this as additional injuries. Additional injuries under Roman numeral 6 on page 5 of 11. And is that going to be what we see in States Exhibit 186?
No, that's the exit wound for the gunshot wound of the right thigh.
Okay. So what we were just seeing in States Exhibit 185.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this is going to be the exit wound 186.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then can you just discuss any additional injuries?
So these are injuries in addition to.
This is the
7 gunshot
pathologist.
wounds.
She's the one who did
Essentially,
the
he
autopsy
has
on
a
him.
Laceration, a laceration is another word for a gash that's surrounded by an abrasion, which is another word for a scratch, essentially. It's on the right side of his scalp. So it's a laceration that is surrounded by abrasion. He has a couple of small abrasions on his right thigh, an abrasion on his right knee, and a couple of abrasions on his left shin.
Okay.
I think it suits her
Otherwise, doing the internal
facial
examination,
structure real
otherwise he was
nice.
a healthy
But yeah, you need
male
to have a special
for his
look to
age.
carry that.
Yes, I mean, he has some underlying cardiovascular disease, but other than that, I did not see anything.
Do I want to know?
In toxicology, you see none detected.
No substances detected.
And then on page 8 of 11, this is when you do the findings.
Yes.
Okay, with the ranges are indeterminate. You do entrance and exit, direction, and
Come on, tell her.
injuries on that part, correct?
Yes,
Come
ma'am.
on, I want to hear it. Let's
Before
go.
we finish up with that,
Right
on States
faster.
Exhibit,
Probably something stupid like
184,
nothing, it can't hear you. Hey, Jenny B, welcome to Texas.
these are on States Exhibit 177. This is what you recovered from some of the fragments of out from the body. Is that correct?
Could you lower it also so I can see what's written? No, the other way. So these are fragments of a jacketed bullet that are recovered from the right side of the brain.
Okay, and State's Exhibit 178.
It's an easy audience.
These are also numerous fragments of a jacketed bullet that are recovered from the brain.
State's Exhibit 180.
This is the bullet that's recovered from the liver.
184.
This is the bullet recovered from the right chest cavity that was freely floating within the cavity.
And 183.
This is the bullet recovered from the soft tissues surrounding the
Carol.
heart that we mentioned previously.
Are you going to sort him out? This is a respectable
and
stream.
Going back to your report, you finish up with your findings.
Sorry, whose phone is that? Please mute it.
In your conclusions, Dr. Dwyer, the cause of death?
Ooh.
Multiple gunshot wounds of the head and trunk.
And manner of death.
Yikes.
You also do two drawings.
There's a kid screaming
In this
outside.
report, correct.
I'm just going to check that.
There are two body diagrams.
Body diagrams.
I'm not that good at drawing.
Yeah. Be a fun part of the job. Okay, so on this particular page, what are you showing, not to scale?
So this particular diagram shows 4 views of the face, the front, the back, the left, and the right side. And if you look on the top left diagram, that would be the left side of the head. And there are 3 entrance wounds, gunshot entrance wounds that I've designated based on the anatomic area.
Okay, and no exit ones.
Correct.
Okay. Hence where you find all the projectiles in the brain.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then this last page, another body diagram.
Yes.
Okay, and can you just using that screen, just sort of generally denote what we're looking at, entrance and exit ones?
So it's a little bit busier, but again, the Roman numerals correspond with the order that they're described in the autopsy report. So you can see the gunshot wound on the right side of the upper chest is Roman numeral 2.
Dr. Dwyer, you can use that screen and actually touch it if you want.
Thank you. So Roman numeral 2 corresponds to the gunshot wound on the right side of his chest. The bullet is recovered from the liver. Roman numeral 3 is the gunshot wound on the posterolateral aspect of the left side of the chest. And we recovered the bullet from this area in the chest. And then Roman numeral 4 is the gunshot wound on the left side of the chest, and then the bullet recovery over here in the right chest cavity. And then gunshot wound Roman numeral 5
Nice.
with the
Now I
entrance
don't
and
have to
exit
draw
on
it.
the right thigh.
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody's talking about her hair, but I'm more interested in this outfit she's wearing.
I appreciate it. I'll pass
Yeah,
on.
it looks like she's going clubbing. She probably
She's got,
went
like-
straight.
It's all like cut out, like on the side. She's got the
I
jacket.
just
What is
think
it?
it's flesh colored, but still,
Yes.
That's all.
again, 2 questions. Nothing. They're just going to go with the traumatic brain injury, and she lured him to it.
You may stand down. Thank you very much.
And Bonnie, it's politicians.
Sure.
How much did you think it's going to be interesting to hear them yak on about UFOs?
Yeah.
They're just going to yell at each other.
Thank you very much.
I watched some of those clips from the hearings where
For the jurors.
they argue about whose fault it is that nothing gets done. And if it's a Democrat in the White House, it's always the Democrats. And if it's a Republican, it's always the Republicans. It's just like in Denmark. It's always the other one's fault. Yep. But we're not sure she's looking for guys. Salbert will be going to Texas and checking it out, because he found out that there's a lot of cute ladies on the crime lab. So maybe if it does something, he could get in touch with them.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I think it's funnier when everybody tells Lefty how sweet he is. He just
Yeah.
hates it.
But Lefty is a real nice person with a very low microphone.
Yeah,
I like his clickety clackety. It reminds me of Jamie in the early days.
I know.
But I would like to hear when he talks all those sweet words he always saying to Farrell, because
Mhm.
Farrell and Lefty sitting in a tree. Kissing.
Aw. How sweet.
Yeah, the ones over Catalina Island or somewhere down there. Yeah, I saw the clips, and I saw one of the Danish channels picks up all those finding the bad guy from WW2 and UFOs, are they real? And I saw the chasing UFOs one, and I like that. And in 76, a commercial airline pilot saw something he couldn't explain. Bam, 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 bam. It's always so over dramatic, and it's like, yeah, I saw something I couldn't explain move real fast.
Okay.
So an UFO, maybe.
Yeah. They're so lame. I want to hear some good stuff, some juicy stuff.
I watched Good Logic when he showed the hearing about the B word. Ricada got a power outage just as he talked about HB last night. So I'm not going to say it because then the power is going to leave, go out here too. But watching that, one side is just yelling at the other side that, well, your former president was a bad guy and he's indicted, and either you are in it so it's a fair playing field, or you're just taking one side, and then it doesn't matter. As I said in Dave's last stream, that I hate politicians who believe they are entitled to power, and I used to be a politician, and I met a lot of people who thought that the voters should vote for them because they are better than the rest of us, and they're not. We're just stupid people who like to spend a lot of time reading stupid papers.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to plead? Isn't that the tax thingy that he got out of real fast? Yeah. Is that one of the things you like about him, or because you left me for Lefty? You stay up all night for Lefty, but you can't get up in the morning for me.
And me too. Like, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, but are we Lefty? No, we're not Lefty.
No, not good enough, I guess.
Yeah, but who do you think sent that massive thunderstorm to Minnesota? Coincidence? It would be the coincidences of coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
And I know about coincidences because I watched the Bradley Young trial, and there were all the coincidences. The guy murdered 40 feet from the place where he was stopped with all the jewelry from the old lady. Is that a coincidence? I think not.
But what about Exhibit 100?
Yeah, because it's 100% truth. Farrell, do you know if Mo is going to be streaming today? No, it's more like. He's playing WoW, so you can watch his channel. So go subscribe to him. I think it's something up your alley.
Is that your impression of him?
Yeah, and
I love it.
I have to pull his. Nope, I can't say that. I won't pull those things on him. But after he stole Farrell from me, I have to be harsh on him.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Thank you, Gigi. But I know I can always count on you, even if you're not in chat. I know you and I are always very close together. If at any time our phone should run out of power or anything. So we are not somewhere doing something we shouldn't be. Oh yeah, yeah. But is Mo going to be live today?
I don't know.
Is she doing lawn and crime?
Wanted creme.
Yeah, she's going to do the afternoon. We're just making fun. It's a little I don't know what an inside joke. Yeah, that's my big problem. She was way too willing to go over to you.
Yep.
Yeah, she'll be trimming her lawn and crime. Sorry. Sadly, C-Swept isn't here. She can make things in Photoshop. So we need a logo,
Mhm.
a lawn and crime.
What?
Dennis, sometimes it's good not to be in the inside of this circle because it's a small circle, but there's a lot of crazy in it. That's the worst part about it. But again, I have to say this trial, we've been going for only an hour and 10 minutes, but it's just moving along. 3 witnesses so far. We have the DNA in, we have the weapons, tool markings, which is junk science. We have that in. We have how he was unalived, and it's such a refreshment from all the other cases we have been watching, especially because I think the defense is really just waiting to try and put some kind of expert on, saying his brain couldn't understand what he was doing. So he's kind of as the French would say, retard. So he's not really that guilty. He's gonna go away. There's no question about it. They said it in the opening. He did it, but they're gonna go for a smaller than life, maybe life with parole, maybe 40 years or something. I don't know what you can do in Texas, but like we saw yesterday with the lie girl, the judge really cut her some slack, and I thought it was appropriate that she got away with 1 year and 5 years suspension after hearing what kind of upbringing she had.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw the sentencing of her.
I did.
Yeah, and it was appropriate because, well, again, I'm a layman. I've been in a few cases myself, and you always want to believe the best, but she seemed like she was just a product of the really bad upbringing, lax parenting, and she had true remorse.
Yeah.
Not just I'm oh, I did it. I'm sorry. She had true remorse, and that's different when you watch people understand. Like yesterday, the way she was just crying, you can see that kind of like with Rittenhouse when he realized what happened. It was from the heart. It's not just some. I'm pretending like AH to cry.
Hmm. Yeah, it choked me up a little bit.
Yeah, I remember perfectly well. We had a conversation while we were playing checkers and drinking coffee at that exact time. I might have been streaming while we were doing it, but I totally remember you were there, Gigi. Yeah, but again, it's better to surrender than do what they did under Napoleon. Win a lot of countries and then get beaten by the Russian winter. It's kind of like, don't go into Russia when it's cold.
Well, do you think the state's gonna bring up any? Like, I don't think the state's gonna bring up anything about Jennifer like manipulating him.
No, absolutely not.
Because they clearly haven't yet. So.
Gigi, we do have a prison for crazy people too. We don't call it a prison. We say that they are in custody, and they can remain in custody for life. Normally, they say a custody sentencing is worse than life, because in Denmark, life is not life. Most likely you will be out in like 16 years. But those who are placed under custody have to be evaluated by psychologists. I believe the first time they have to have an evaluation is after 3 years, and after that, every year or every second year, to see if they are still too dangerous to be placed into society. People like what they like to call the Danish Elon Musk, the one with the submarine who unalived and chopped up a journalist from Sweden. He's in that. We have Peter Madsen, a guy who I believe he unalived a person in the US, or he used to live in the US, and then he came back and unalived his girlfriend and 2 small kids. He was really special. There's a famous photo of him where he's half his head, his face is in blackface, and he's sitting there rambling. They are put in to the psych, but we call it custody, not prison. But it's the same thing, just for mentally defective people, but not mentally defective enough that they have to be admitted to a psych institution. So it's kind of different. Yeah, I believe it was his mother he unalived in the U.S., but he was really crazy. He was all. He's like the ones you see on TV, and sadly, I'm not sure I can pull enough material off different kinds of places without getting copyright struck. But it could be an interesting case to try to go back to, because it's kind of old. But for Denmark, that was one of the first really big newspaper cases, because he was all kinds of crazy. And then of course we had the submarine case where it was funny. I was watching with my my brother. I think we had some birthday or something. We were all gathered with my parents, and when I saw him walking down the pier after they found him, and he was interviewed, where he said, "Yeah, I left her somewhere." I said, "I have a feeling we're never going to see her again." And then they found out that he did the bad things to her. But he was a weird guy too. Yeah, and a guy like this guy, it's clear when you watch him in the beginning of the trial, he's really trying to concentrate, to follow along, and then you can just see like his eyes fog over, and he's just sitting there watching, and then he suddenly, like, he's popping back into reality. There's something wrong with him, but he won't get out of this on easy street. He's not going to walk free, even though it's clear that his former girlfriend coerced him into this by lying to him, because we just heard the coroner tell us what he did to the other guy. But the defense only tactic in this case is get him as easy a sentence as possible, because they will say he didn't know about it. And again, it's just so hard to say spur of the moment or anything like that, right? As we talked about yesterday, he drove 8 to 9 hours. He was waiting in a shed in the next house in the backyard for some time, and then went out, kablow, kablow, kablow. That's premeditated. So they have to say something about his brain injuries made him do this, but he's not incompetent.
Yeah, because she told him that she always gets beat up on the walks, the dog walks.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind of a weird thing anyway. Like, what?
Yeah, Peter Lundin, that's his name, not Peter Madsen. That's the one with the submarine. But they didn't find the bodies. And were the kids like 6 to 10 years old or something? It was young kids with his girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah, and then sometimes she's just blinking real hard, and then it seems like he opens the front door and he sits there for 2 minutes and then he's off again. He stares into the abyss.
Yeah.
The new season of Futurama, I saw they're gonna do another season. I really hope they don't ruin it. That show was so great. Hey Jody, thank you for stopping by and saying hi. I hope you have a great day today. I saw someone was mean to you on Twitter, but I hope meeting all of us online friends can cheer you up a bit.
Hi, Jody.
I really hope that they can keep. It's kind of like what's his name? The Star Trek spin-off, not spin-off, but it started out like kind of Star Trek parody, and now it's a real good show. I like that one. I can't remember what it's called now, but I like that one. So some of the new series could be good, but I'm stuck watching Justified and Boston Legal and stuff like that. Those were great series. Well, we're all here to try to be nice to each other, even though at some points we disagree and say stuff to each other. We don't disparage anyone. We just have different opinions. Yeah, Jamie is just too beautiful for the internet. Oh, we got a new look at that.
Oh, wow.
Was that the Haitian flag? I'm gonna get killed by all the Texans. I can't remember what the Star Trek parody is. It's not a parody. It's what's it, Seth MacFarlane's space show. I like that one.
Oh, I've seen, I don't know what it's called, but I've seen like previews for it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The first couple of episodes I thought, it's just a Seth MacFarlane making jokes. But then it kind of turned into like a Star Trek, the Next Generation, a bit modern. I like that one. Not Strange New Worlds.
Presence of the jurors. The state had a motion in limine. Hang on one second.
The state has a motion, but
I'm sorry, the defense had a motion.
defense have a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Duke. The floor is yours.
Judge, the state has tendered some discovery, which includes some text or some chat room messages that occurred on or about April 13th between
Chat
people
room?
that are not involved in the case.
March 13th.
Or excuse me, March 13th of 2020.
Oh, is it that?
And March 14th. I could order about that the defense would object to the entry of those under Texas Rules of Evidence 401, 403, 404, as well as Article 1, Section 10 of the Texas Constitution, and the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. We do not believe they are relevant. They are more prejudicial than probative. They would give it inappropriate character. And we would object to them coming in and ask that specifically, if the court's not willing to exclude them at this time, that at least the state approach before they get into any of those.
All right. And your reply? If you have
Well, the
one.
state believes it's highly relevant. However, the state agrees with the court's ruling and will approach before we decide to get into that.
All right. The record should reflect that we had a discussion off the record before the court informed the parties at the time that I would reserve my ruling until I heard some of the testimony that might be related to or shed some light on what these messages might be. And we're going to call these the chat room messages. Do you have an exhibit that you were intending to introduce that would have these chat room messages that I could review while y'all are asking questions? Do you have something like that or no?
Yes, Judge, I can show you what we.
Yeah, the Oval. It's I think that's a really great show. First couple of episodes not that great.
These are emails between the parties.
So
You intend to introduce this binder?
this
Judge. And the chat room messages are, it's the second page in the binder.
So
And
the
there's-
state
there are
will
3 chat room
spend
messages there.
probably the rest of the
Okay, so
morning
3 chat room messages.
talking about
is what we're
messages.
talking about.
They're lengthy.
Yes, it's 3 chat room related emails, I
To
should
prove
say.
that
They've
it's
copied and
premeditated.
pasted the entire conversation, or Darrin Lopez has copied and pasted the entire conversation
Hi, T.
chat room into 2 emails.
All right. And would you have any objection to me reviewing states 213?
We have been waiting for you, Thierry, but we're happy you're here now.
So I'm gonna.
And what's
admit
with the
213
lady
for
in the
record
green
purposes
shirt
at
and
this
her
time.
70s?
You need to lay the predicate in
Glasses.
front of the jury and all that for all the other stuff in here, but I'll look for these chat room conversations. Is that pretty much what I'm looking for?
Yes, it's more of a play, I suppose. Our
Did
story.
you say a
and
play?
A play.
A
yes.
script.
Okay.
That's how it's written, so you'll recognize it.
Donna, Emma, Eric.
Correct.
So we're going to have a
Okay.
play today.
Very good. Then are we ready to call the jury?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
All right.
But like, I hate that they're introducing all these messages when we're not getting the full picture of like her part and everything.
Yeah, and it's to show that he was a willing participant in it.
I know.
But hopefully the defense can put in something that shows that I don't care. I have no sides in this, but hopefully they can, for their defendants, they can kind of prove that
Thank you, Sheriff.
she chipped away
Sir, if you
and
would
made him
please
do
raise
it.
your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the
We
truth.
will be doing it a
Go ahead,
playeth.
please have a seat.
That's
Let me see the
amazing.
lawyer very, very quickly.
I love that case.
I know.
So they will introduce the messaging between them. They have all the physical evidence, they have all the video evidence, they have the DNA evidence, that's physical. They had the dance instructor talking about their relationship. So what could they possibly be going for after showing their communication that they were planning this? And I think it could end maybe today for the state. And I don't think that the defense will use 2 days to put on their defense.
No.
This could be
Well, the
real
state's
quick.
case in chief. You may proceed
But-
whenever you're ready.
I won't jinx it.
Good morning.
Please state
I've been
and
burned
spell
before
your name for the record.
in Texas.
Yes, my name is Eric Barnes, ERICBARNES.
All right, and Eric, or Detective Barnes, for whom do you work?
I am a Dallas police homicide detective,
And how long have you worked for Dallas Police Department?
17 years,
How long have you been a homicide detective?
going on 12 years.
And did you do anything prior to
All done.
starting with Dallas Police Department?
Yes,
We
I
are
did.
back.
I was enlisted in the United States
Oh,
Army.
hi, Mo.
Right before you went. to the Dallas
Hello.
Police Department?
That's correct.
You.
In the Dallas Police Department,
Yep.
I'm sorry, you've been in homicide for how long?
Going almost 12 years.
Almost 12 years.
I
Okay,
think-
and currently, can you
what
tell
is
the
up
jury
with the
what's your
tie
assignment at the Dallas
situ-
Police Department?
I feel like we need Dave
I'm
here.
assigned to a violent crime
At
task
least
force with
the
Bureau of
blue on the
Outlaws,
tie
Tactical
matches
and
the shirt,
Firearms,
but it's
Violent
weird.
Task Force
But Mo,
What do you do?
as I
Yes.
just said, we had
What do you do in that capacity?
video,
So my
We had,
typical job
GPS,
description,
we had
I will
Mhm.
investigate any crimes
the
of violence involving
not
gangs,
abduction, autopsy.
firearms and narcotics.
Yes.
We had
Um,
the friends
but
talking
you
about the
still,
relationship.
Are with Dallas Police Department.
Now they're going to
Homicide unit.
probably put in
Two
the
jobs.
the
Basically, that was
messaging
it.
between them. It could end
And
maybe
then
today.
were you
Yeah,
involved
I mean,
in
they
the
are
shooting
just
that happened on October 9th of
going right through.
2020 at 926 Waverly
And
Place,
we are be doing a play.
and the victim James Faith Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What did you?
Good morning, Gigi,
How did you come to be involved?
everyone.
On October 11th, actually October 9th, I was at the office while officers were at the crime scene, and Miss Jennifer Faith, and who was the victim's wife, and also his stepdaughter, were at homicide. I was at the office at my desk just doing my normal stuff, and Miss Faith had a medical episode.
Okay, and what did y'all have to do?
We ended up calling Dallas Fire and Rescue to get her transported to the hospital.
Okay, did you have anything to do with the
She
investigation?
faked a
on that
heart attack.
particular
Are you
day?
kidding
No.
me?
When does your
Being
involvement
surprised.
begin?
October
I mean,
11th,
of all the
I did
drama,
I helped Detective
llama
Walton. We did a
stuff.
neighborhood canvas around the house where the murder occurred, looking for witnesses and also video footage.
All right, do you also go to the home of Jennifer Faith on October 12th
Yes,
with Detective Walton and look
Woman done
for-
been faking a headache for
and
4
review her
years with her
camera?
husband.
yes, that's correct.
No, God.
Okay, and just continue on, Detective Barnes, if you can remember, like, how did you continue with your involvement?
So, in speaking with Detective Walton, there was some difficulties in this investigation, being that a person of interest, Mr. Lopez, lived in a different state. And just based on the laws in Texas, the authority of a peace officer kind of extends to the state boundaries. And by being a part of a federal task force, one of the things, we have jurisdiction over the whole United States. So I was able to offer resources to Detective Walton in terms of prosecution or any assistance on the federal side.
All right, and what was the first
I'm not
thing
sure
that you
how I
recall
feel
doing?
about his mustache.
So
I feel like he either
on
needs
November
to choose
4th,
mustache or no
I spoke
stash.
with several people,
This is like a
I don't know.
primarily people that I work with here in the Dallas area. I spoke with AUSA Rick Calvert. We came up with a game plan on any assistance that could be provided here in Dallas and also in Nashville. We put together a team of individuals, law enforcement and state, to work a joint investigation on this case because, like I said, it crossed so many state boundaries. We also enlisted the help of several analysts here in Dallas, also in Nashville with the Nashville Field Division. And we worked a financial investigation as well, just supporting the overall homicide investigation.
Okay. And this is because the focus is on Tennessee, because by this point, the person of interest, Darrin Lopez, you guys had figured out lived in Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that had been pretty well verified.
Yes,
All right, but at some point you want to actually put eyes on.
We need to do
him, is
some
that correct?
That's
research.
correct.
I mean, was
And is it-
Cumberland
now, I've heard
Furnace
a
the
little bit
place
about
where
the
a
federal
furnace
side of
was
the
invented?
investigation, but,
I know.
I don't understand the town name.
Did
Gonna have to
Walton
look that
try
up
to
now.
get local law enforcement agencies involved to see if they could see him or his vehicle that you have now at this point in the investigation come to know as a black Nissan Titan with the T sticker on the back?
that's correct.
But they could not because his acreage was too large. Is that correct?
That's correct. The outside of his property, there was a gate, personal privacy gate, and I believe it was approximately 20 acres. So the house was a good distance away from the road. So he was unable to determine if the truck was parked there.
All right. And before I go on, if Darrin Lopez was in the courtroom today, could you identify him?
Okay, Jamie,
it's a
in
gentleman sitting right here with the
1793,
button.
General James
Witnesses
Roberts
identify the defendant in open court.
created the first furnace in that town.
Okay,
Oh.
They're
so
all smarter.
It
you reach out
sounds
to the
like
ATF
furnace name.
in order
like,
to do what, as far as putting some
Like, it sounds
surveillance
familiar
on
for-
the home in Cumberland
Yep.
Furnace?
While we were working the
My
investigation,
dad
we
and my
believe it'd be a
brother
good
installed
idea to
so
try to
I
keep
know a
tabs
lot
on
of
him to
stupid
make
phrases.
sure that just get a daily pattern of life for him and also to catch someone driving the vehicle. So
So go ahead.
So we decided that we would put up pole cameras to remotely watch his travel on two points inside his neighborhood.
Okay, did you also do what's called a flyover?
Yes,
Okay, was that prior to the pole cameras?
yes, it would.
Around the same time?
So we set up the flyover before we put up the pole cameras. We wanted to actually see if we could get confirmation that a vehicle was still parked at on his property without notifying him that we were looking for it.
All right, and was this flyover actually done?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and who did, what agency was involved with that flyover?
It was coordinated through ATF, but it was the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation that actually did the flyover.
Mayor Punch the witness? Detective, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 98, 99, 100, and 101. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
Okay, were these photos sent directly to you?
Yes, they were.
And were these photos part of the flyover that you were just discussing?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, I'd like to offer you evidence, State's Exhibits 98 through 101 for all purposes.
Sorn,
Objection.
yes, as my ass, it's
There
always
is a
behind me,
published-
but when I get a BBL, it'll be at a higher elevation.
All
But it will
right.
still be behind me. I am going to kick Mr. Mo's butt.
Detective Barnes, I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit
He specifically
98. Can you
put
show what's
The
relevant in that photo?
Uranus
I know it's kinda
one
hard to
right
see.
here.
The bottom right-hand corner of the photograph is a black 2004 Nissan Titan that was
He
used in
just
the murder
wants-
of James Faith.
Okay, at this point, were you aware that he had the gray Scion?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. In State's Exhibit
Salbert.
99, and you can look at your screen and
So
touch it. I know it's hard to see, but on the, what is significant about this
See,
photo?
I'm a little upset. I mean,
The
I
black
fly
Nissan
drones
Titan
over my
is
audio
part-
asshole,
the
you
bottom
know,
portion of
neighbor's
the
house
Picture.
for
And on the
reconnaissance.
lower
I get in
left-hand
trouble.
side
The
of the
government
rear
does it.
windshield
It's
is the
reconnaissance for a
T that we were looking
mission.
for.
Okay, and you can see it, I think, a little bit better in State's Exhibit 100.
That's correct.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 101. Just an overview.
Yes.
Okay, so once you get confirmation from this flyover that that is his truck and at that house, you guys then, or you and the ATF then put up the pole cameras, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and do they take photos of that truck exiting or the residence?
Yes, on December 4th, 2020, we actually got the pole cameras
Now we have a
installed. And while agents were
That's-
installing the pole cameras, they saw the Nissan Titan traveling on the same road that they were installing the pole
I
camera.
call him Salbert James.
Did they also take photos of the truck that they saw from another car?
Yes, they did.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 102, may I?
I do not know. Gigi will have to answer.
Duration of this trial.
Salbert already
I
stuck,
did.
and I didn't think it would. Because I tend to just call people weird names.
That's correct.
It's the best.
State's Exhibit
He's got-
102.
On the internet. Salbert.
This is not the play actor. This is just we took photos. He had it on his farm. Why are the horses running up to the car? That's weird, isn't it?
All right. And
We
I'll
need
agree that
Valhalla
This
on
one is just the one photo, but further
I still
confirmation,
need to know
that
how
he's on
this
site.
man
He's
lived in that
Sticker
dirty, dirty
in Woodland
house.
Farms, Tennessee, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so you've done the flyer with the pole cameras, keeping eyes on him. What else is
Pole
going
cams?
on?
On that last picture as well, we noticed that the vehicle had been modified from the time that it was used in the offense. There's a white bumper sticker placed on the tailgate of the vehicle that was not present during the murder.
Do you recall what the bumper sticker was?
No, I don't.
That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a
All right, can you continue? what
waste
you
of
guys do now? And we're moving
taxpayer
into-
money. I mean, unless they're driving, I
Yes.
can understand that, but
On December 8th,
It's kind of like if
Um,
Americans go to Denmark.
during review of the footage
Where
from
we
the pole
don't-
cameras that
you
were
can drink.
installed,
I
agents
think we
noticed that
haven't
there
aged at
was
16 or
a
something. but
significant removal of the
Yeah,
teeth
that's-
from the rear windshield of the vehicle.
And I'm sorry, how did you get that
So
information?
It was
they can
from the
get
pole camera footage.
charged when they go back home. I know all the
It was
exchange
removing the
students I
T-sticker, or
have
the
met in
T-sticker had been
Denmark
removed.
Yes, the T sticker had been
has
removed.
tried to drink
And when
sometimes
you
because
finally
it's
do
just
do
so
the
big a
arrest
culture
and you
here.
see the black Nissan Titan, it is clear that the T-sticker was removed,
the
correct?
cat did.
Okay.
I don't
Um,
know what they got into last night, but it has been nothing but
Okay,
death smell.
also, Detective Barnes, while you mentioned
I'm
also
like,
using analysts.
That was your
40-year-old
One
man.
of the analysts was Jessica Mass.
Yes, Thor is over
It's not
here.
really
like a
awful,
human
Look,
being.
y'all, I don't know what they got into.
But a lot's going on, so we're
Like
gonna kind of be
deviled
going back and
eggs,
forth
cabbage,
from last
what's going
October
on?
until the arrest in January 11th. But you guys sent a set of
Well,
records to Jessica
There's
Mass
not being
about
house
all
proud,
detail
and
records.
then there's
And
this.
can you just explain to the jury, they got a little bit of it, but just
My
what you
life
were
is
looking for and
crazy.
specifically why that is important to you as a detective?
The call detail records allow us to, the initial thing we were looking for
Let me
is
see if
to
I can
see
get him on.
who our person of interest
Do
was. In
not
this
get
case,
out.
happens to be Mr.
Get
Lopez,
down.
what he was doing during the time of the offense. On this particular case, once we looked at the call detail records, there was a huge void in his call timeline based on the patterns of the days leading up to the murder. There
You
was
know,
some
I just got
calls
done
and
telling my
contacts made by him
son
and Jennifer Faye
that,
on
you
the
know,
days
you're gonna
of
miss
the
your
offense,
siblings. You
the
really
day
will
before and the
if you
day of the
didn't have
offense. There
them.
was
You
very
know,
little
some families
communication
have lost
between the two.
children, and
And
you
I
need to
felt
be
that that
really
was
grateful you
important
have
because it
siblings.
was the altar in this pattern.
And he said, "Well, we'll give Griffin away if they want one back."
Also,
You know,
the
those teachable
investigation,
moments.
at the same time, you are gathering any information you can regarding any relationship between Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faye. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay. But at some point, you're doing financials. So as part of an investigation, you're doing sending out search warrants for records, correct?
Yes.
You're trying to do
Could you
surveillance,
just learn
correct?
how to
Yes.
spell Griffin
Reaching out
and
to other
then
agencies to help out if you need it, correct?
Yes.
have the ninjas right on
Exactly what's done in
the
this particular
cupboards?
case. One of the ways that you
Yeah.
perform an investigation.
Well,
is to
then
look
he was mad at me for his poor
to say-
genetics because now he has to wear glasses.
the trail of money, right?
That's correct.
He's like,
Look where the money's
"I
going.
have your
In
stupid
this
eyes,
case, what
Mom."
did you
I
and
was
the
like,
federal side do?
We
What
sent
can
out
you do?
several subpoenas after we formed the impromptu task force. We sent out several subpoenas requesting information on Mr.
Oh,
Lopez
dear
credit
Lord.
report and any financial institutions that he may have used.
Well,
And you found one financial institution that he used often was
it
USAA.
happens.
That's correct.
Those
And
BS
the
are
subpoena
really
went out to
bad.
USAA. and
Not because they're
what
strong,
happened
because
from that point.
it just tastes
Once
so bad.
once the subpoena is
We have
sent over to USAA,
some BS called
we had a financial
brutalis.
advisor, a
After
financial
a
examiner
rhino, we had
that
ones
was
in
able to make contact with
in a-
USAA, let them
zoo
know
park,
that we were
and,
first make sure they
it's
received the
what the
subpoena.
what the
Secondly,
drunks
once
drink
they
because
confirmed they
it
received
costs
it,
nothing and
we're
it
working an
hits
active
like a
murder
hammer.
investigation, and we were looking
And
to
they
kind of
are just
expedite some
nasty.
information from those records. So he was able
It's
to
like natural
verify that
ice when
phone
you're in
calls
college.
were
It's a
records
terrible, okay,
linked to
allegedly it's a
USAA
terrible
debit
beer
card
that you drink
Lopez
because it's
on the
like
days that we were
when I
doing
was in
the
college, it was like
murder
$4 for a keg or like a 24 pack.
$4 for
It's
That's
terrible
bits.
beer. It's terrible, terrible, horrible.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked.
Yeah,
This
Natty Ice is
103, 104,
responsible for many a
107, and
childbirth,
108.
I think.
Yeah, many a child
Yes, I do.
pregnancies.
Okay, and
Just like
Generally,
Christmas
without
beers in
getting into
Denmark.
it, What are they photos of?
Still
Yeah,
photos from
Lefty,
submittals.
I was joking, but I wasn't old enough to buy it, so I would have to help chip in with friends, allegedly.
Gas station.
Yes, they were.
All right, This time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer the evidence states 103 through 108.
Oh, Lefty, don't. Your liver deserves better. Have you heard of vodka? I mean, the new cup? This is probably vodka.
No objection.
They're admitted. You may publish.
Thank you.
See if I can get it.
Okay, Detective Barnes. Looks like State's Exhibit 103.
I remember
see
back
this
in the, I believe the 90s,
see,
they
the
tried to
defendant,
make these
Darrin
ice beers
Lopez,
a thing in Denmark too. Now
United
it's
to
all
pump
the ones
gas
with
into
lemon in
the
them.
suspect beer.
It's nasty.
Okay, so we have the suspect vehicle, the Nissan Titan. We also have the black shirt and blue jeans, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and in State's Exhibit 104, same thing, it appears you can see a mask, a blue mask on his chin,
That's correct.
okay? State's Exhibit 105, you see him entering the store.
Sir, don't smile at yourself.
106,
Just-
with the mask on, the black t-shirt, or the black polo, whatever it is, and the mask on, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then we have a receipt from the pilot. This first one, State's Exhibit 107, we see is just
$1.90 for
the gas that was pumped.
gas.
That's correct.
Is that
I know.
a
Can
gallon?
we go back?
Is that for a gallon?
10/8 of 2020 at
Look,
4:48.
whose prom date do I need to date?
Where was that?
Sorry, right there.
I don't know, but we're West Memphis,
State's Exhibit
Arkansas, apparently.
108,
God.
we see the date. I'm sorry, this is the food, what he bought. And we see
Non-carb
10/8
water.
at 5:09 p.m. So minutes after he does his pumping of the gas and presumably puts his card in, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't even remember.
And relevant to this, Detective Barnes, and the jury has already heard from Mark Sedgwick, and you're
Yeah.
familiar
Do
with
you
Mark Sedgwick.
you remember filling up your tank and not feeling like, ooh,
Cast
Your
team.
bank account was negative.
Part
No.
of his record is that he says.
With prices like these, we need to still be able to float
Yeah.
checks, if y'all know
say
what
that
I
the
mean.
human has to follow,
Certain
right? It's the
people,
device that's moving.
you
But one of the
millennials
ways
won't
is
understand, but floating
how do you
checks was how we
corroborate?
survived.
The surveillance footage actually allowed us to put Mr. Lopez in the same location as the device.
Okay.
I'm glad you guys
This
remember.
is-
I don't.
The pilot was important in this, in his analysis, correct?
Who's
That's
in
Now
correct.
moving to
The
Minnesota.
phone was
We're
at the
lefty.
pilot,
Probably why.
and so was Mr. Lopez. We were actually able to physically verify that he was there in the vicinity of the device.
Sorry,
Okay.
yes.
And
We-
that
we
was
paid
another
more
search
than
warrant that
$2
you and Walt
a
were doing
liter.
at the same
It was
time.
4
was
liters
Yeah,
to
I
a
was about to
gallon.
say,
mapping
how
percent
many
what was
liters?
used
Good
for it,
God,
correct?
yours
That's
is like
correct.
$1 billion
During
and
all this time, you're
$12
doing
to fill a
search
gas
warrants,
tank. I don't
You're
know.
working the financial angle.
If I had-
Sometimes America
the team.
It's
measurements
about
were
a little
agents in
around
Nashville.
$100 to fill my
You
tank.
mentioned there was a team. Who was on this?
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
On the Dallas side, we had AUSA Rick
But it
Calvert.
goes to a
We
great
had
purpose because
analysts.
most of that
Jessica
are
Mass,
Texas.
also Cecil
Texas
Manuel,
rate.
who's an analyst as
Oh,
well. We
well,
also
I
had fraud
mean,
examiner or
for
financial
free stuff, I
expert
see.
Brad Bates. On
Makes
the
all the
Tennessee
sense.
side, we had
I know.
analyst Michelle Morgan.
I'd have taken
had,
some jerry cans
technical,
too.
Uh,
Filled them.
guy that was responsible for the poll cameras named Jim Nestor, and also Special Agent Ben Kochmeyer, who was the co-case agent out in Nashville.
Yeah, but you probably have a big tank. I don't.
Now, at this point. December 4th,
So
you're
the transit,
with the sticker. And then there's some.
it was alleged. None of us ever
being
floated
removed.
checks, Gigi.
Or
it
a photo coming out of
lies and slander.
What? Yeah.
At what point do you decide, okay, there's enough for an arrest warrant?
It was, I think we filed for the arrest warrant early January of 2021.
Okay, because at this point you have.
Serna, have you met us? Our country started
original
basically
text
because we're like,
from
screw
Jennifer
off
Faith
all the
linking
rest
her
of
to
you.
Darrin Lopez. Darrin
Yeah.
Lopez being in Tennessee.
Not
he
saying
was
it's in our deep.
Stupid temperatures. Stupid
that's found in Dallas,
measurements.
Texas.
Weight.
He is living there.
Everything
You
is
see that
stupid.
same truck
We
going
do it
in and
better.
out. And then by this point, you have
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Verizon
I guess
records
things
looking
are
them up.
bigger in
And
centimeters.
also
So
October 8th and 9th, where they stopped communicating.
And again, only
And then
one
you're getting-
major satellite had to crash before you
And
thought,
one of
well,
the biggest
maybe we
things, I
should
think,
make
for you,
a
Detective
unit
Barnes, is
fixed
you are sending
when
out
we're
these Google
building satellites and
returns.
spaceships.
Yes.
And the mapping is part of that Google
listen,
returns.
converting between metric
You
and
received the Google returns
us is weird.
sometime in late December, would that be correct?
Late.
I think the Google returns were the 18th and then the
Lefty.
23rd. I think you get them back fairly quickly. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you go ahead and look at these returns. What do you do?
I look at the
Someone
Google
needed to bring
return.
him a coloring
I was
book.
able to
That
determine
is
that,
a deeply
uh,
unsettling stare.
Google Maps were used to plug in a travel route from Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee, to the victim's address.
Yeah,
in
that would have
Dallas.
been a good idea.
You're able to
That's
do that
stupid.
yourself.
The records come back with grid coordinates, and so I was able to take the grid coordinates from the return and place them into a map and see
Friends,
where the grid coordinates were at.
Don't
And it was
let friends
basically
doing crime
breadcrumbs
use
all the
Google
way
Maps.
from Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee, to Dallas, Texas, to about a block away from the victim's house.
Okay. So at that point,
I
late
have
December,
GPS everything.
you
I'm gonna be
you
guilty.
have the record showing that he, in fact, did travel on those exact dates to Dallas, Texas.
That's correct.
All right. And then you get the arrest warrant when?
On January 7th,
You
the
know,
delay between
we all know what goes on
alleged-
at
the
Petco.
beginning of January
it
was simply
it really was. I mean, you just didn't realize it was the
it was
Petco
a little bit of a challenge to
cartel
get assets in place around
and
the
the
holidays.
GameStop
And
mafia.
also,
You just didn't know.
We're coordinating a
happens to
lot of
all of
movement
us.
from Dallas to Nashville with getting arrest teams in place to make sure we could get him in custody the safest way possible.
Okay. And then what is the plan to execute the arrest?
Our plan was to, we actually ended up traveling to Tennessee, mostly by car. We were planning on flying, but there was a snowstorm that came in the days we were making plans. So most of us drove to Nashville. We had tactical teams in place, part of ATF's
Can
SRC
Texans
team.
drive in snow?
And we actually, the early morning,
I don't
first
think
day
so.
there, we were briefing and
You know
coming
what
up
I'm
with
liking is that
how we
everyone has
wanted to
come
take
to this,
him
well,
custody.
except for the
We didn't
dance
want to approach
thing.
his house because he had several
In like sharp dress,
young
we don't
teenage
have the
daughters,
gym shorts
and
over
we
the
didn't want to
button
put them in
down.
jeopardy or harm.
You didn't
So we
see
intended
the
on getting him
coroner.
the
She had
least
a
I did.
intrusive
She
way
had
possible. We were hoping that he would leave.
really
yeah,
cute
but her
with
dress It was
Oh,
flesh color.
And ultimately, he did leave in a vehicle.
It was going out to
after
bring
we finished
bread.
our briefing. We were going out to conduct
ma'ams,
surveillance,
Mrs.
and
in
we
the
got information that
chat.
he was out
Flesh
in
Hey,
the
Law
colored
and Crime.
nothing.
and they were going to do the tape.
Oh, this is hilarious. Whoever did that is my. Can you help me with
And
my
were you there for the
logo?
actual arrest?
Asking for
No, I
a
wasn't.
me.
Once I found out that he
Asking
was
for a
in
mo.
custody, I made my way to the local sheriff's office to get ready for an interview.
Soren, they've actually passed several different things here in the last couple of years where natural hairstyles
I was
are
able to
much more
speak with him shortly
acceptable
after he was taken into custody.
within regulations.
Fine.
So
And
if the
meanwhile,
government says it's okay, who am I to
Police
judge?
taken into
The
custody and a
government
search
is
warrant
always right.
has
Also, that's a landmine I am not going to
gone
stand
out
on.
for
Okay.
his residence. Is that correct?
Hello, Law
That's
and
correct.
Crime. Happy to
Hello.
see you.
Yeah, we weren't sure you were fans of our kind of humor, but I'm glad you're over here.
The sign-on, is that correct?
Yes,
Oh, for the love of Cheetos. It's a good thing you X'd him.
These search warrants for the Darrin Lopez residence and Darrin Lopez sign.
that's correct.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer into evidence 109 and 110 for record purposes.
I'm really not liking her suit. I think she looked much better in the Michael from The Office pantsuit, but
Yeah.
that's me.
To me, it's just it's the carpet you have in the back of the truck,
Yeah, it's the Berber carpet look.
and it looks like it's going to be so filled with static electricity. Your hair is just going to.
It's so heavy, and I can't imagine how hot Texas is because I know we're 90 degrees here with like a billion% humidity.
Search of the hall.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Who did you ride to Tennessee with?
I rode with ATF Task Force Officer Jabari Howard.
Okay. And he also works for Dallas Police Department. Is that correct?
That's correct. He's a gang detective.
Okay. So he was with you on this drive.
You say crazy gang
Did he go to the
detective?
house?
Yes.
Okay. So
I thought he said crazy detective, but I could.
Were you there for?
It's like the camo pants East 17 used to wear in the videos. All right, all right.
It's back when the
everything's
military
all right.
decided to try that digital print, which was,
17.
and the beret.
Yeah,
You want to hear some veterans bitch? Ask them about the beret, okay? Because my husband was like, mm-mm. Allegedly, he was not a fan.
it looks so stupid.
We are not
Yeah, but
French. I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. Make it make sense. Not to mention our lovely military government sort of thing. They will give soldiers $600 of their own dollars to go buy a uniform
Search warrant, is that correct?
for
Yes,
them.
ma'am.
That's nice of them.
Evidence states exhibit
Yeah,
117.
100% polyester too, so it'll breathe.
I used to be in the Royal Navy band, and we had to wear cotton sailors outfits when we are playing music. And in the summer, I know you're supposed to breathe in cotton, but you don't. And it's, of course, it's dark, and we couldn't take anything off because we're like the I don't know what you call it, but we have to be exemplary. So we have to shine our boots in a special way and wear this Donald Duck outfit, and it was just so hot in the summer.
Okay. They're admitted for all purposes. You may publish.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, as long as he's using his powers for good.
Pursuant to the search warrant, correct?
It's not the ME, it's the guy who did the arrest.
Oh, I must have missed that. I was trying to talk to the stupid pharmacy.
And this is.
Good
somewhat
God,
relevant.
sir.
And you can turn to your screen, but what is relevant in this particular photos? What do you see on the passenger and driver's side seats?
Cell phones.
Okay. Who was he
And
with?
is that mold? I hope it's dirt, but it
McKenzie.
looks like mold.
Dr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Probably.
Was he
He
driving?
had his daughter in this
No,
car.
he's in the passenger seat.
He was in the passenger seat. Okay. So presumably,
That's
one of the
nasty.
phones would be his and one of
Like,
the phones would
look,
be
y'all,
hers.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there?
we do a weekly like clean out of my van because look, I have a
And
Diet
Stacy
Pop
Exhibit
addiction.
120
I will
just
have
thinks that
pop
you
bottles
are
in there.
photographing of the backseat of the
But
car,
that
correct?
is a whole level of nope.
Yeah, and
And Stacy Exhibit 121, again, a picture where we can see the phone in the
Look at
driver's
the
side
floor.
and the passenger side, correct?
correct.
There is no floor.
And the trunk of the car,
I just saw
122.
I believe it
Yes,
was,
The
oh,
back
what's his
hatch
name?
of the car.
Why does he have a hobby pony in his car?
He had his daughter with him. I don't know how old she
And
is.
How old is the
124,
daughter?
presumably this,
Because I thought
I
she was
don't know.
using it to
picture was
drive to
taken, but
school
also
as a
the
senior.
roll of duct tape in there.
That's correct.
Gigi, I just saw, is his DJ
You also
D-Day
collected a
Cooper
black backpack.
talk about driving
or
through
a black
Texas while it was
backpack
raining,
collected, I believe.
and
Yes.
everyone
That was collected out of
got
that car.
confused because they're not used to it. So
Yes.
I couldn't understand how they could drive in snow.
As
In
well
rain?
Well,
as
no one,
a handgun.
we don't know
Yes.
what Salbert is trying to
Picture
fix.
states 130 of the handgun.
That's correct.
Okay, this is not the handgun, however, that was used in the
Look,
offense.
it's like when it's real quiet, like now, and part of me's like, what are the boys doing? And part of me's like, let God handle it.
And Stacy.
And the worst part is
Sandra
he has a
West
pretty
Hazen.
nice car,
I
some
got that
pretty
right.
nice cars, and he has
was
horses
one
and
of the ones that
everything.
found that handgun.
Yes.
And
So
his property is, I mean, his house is nothing
What
to,
did she do with that handgun?
it's not
once it was
awesome, but
collected,
the
was
property,
passed,
You could
was
make it awesome.
maintained in our custody and
Yeah.
transported back to Dallas so it could be compared to the shell casings
And-
collected from the murder scene.
I know it wasn't Miss
Who
Texas he was trying to
transported
date.
back Dallas?
Jabari
Pulling
Howard.
a babe to that house?
Was just Jabari.
well, that's what I'm thinking. Did she see picture, like when they were doing the Smexy time, did he stand in like the one part of his house that was clean?
Maybe, yeah, maybe like you just cleaned off the bed.
The small trail where he can walk around in all the mess.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
do.
gosh, that house would, oh, my anxiety. I'd just be like,
Yeah, you're gonna go clean in the lunch break. Yeah, snow is technically
Probably.
firm rain. Thank you so much. Go
Oh,
over and subscribe
awesome.
to Mo too. She's a big
Yes.
fan of law and crime. Law and crime.
Yeah, that's how I got into this when Nicholas was watching Law and Crime.
No, law and crime. You're a big fan of law and
Lawn
crime.
and Crime.
Ron and Krim.
Oh, for the love of. You know what's hilarious is like CERN I can get now, but there are some things when they pull up and it's a new person, I'm like, oh Lord. How would you say your name?
Oh, I know.
They're admitted? You may publish?
It's pronounced lawn and crime.
Lawn and
All right, Detective
Prim.
Barnes, just gonna go through these quickly. The jury has seen these, but this is the particular handgun that was photographed. Is that correct? 131.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we see this, the blood.
Did not
Yes,
even
I
use
do.
gloves, sir.
And Smith & Wesson and the serial number BAS
You
05.
weren't here for the DNA, but they found his DNA on the slide of the gun. The
9A.
victim's
The
DNA.
Okay, the victims.
Okay.
It's, I believe it's what you can see there
Closer view
on
of
the
that.
top
Yeah.
right,
BAS 05.
and on the,
Well,
the
And it's
safety
also,
board.
it looks like on the,
And then several photographs of the gun as well as the clip.
I like it has numbers on there for
And
those
it
of us who
states
can't
137.
count.
Sorry, the clip is 136, states 137, another photo
Is it a
of that.
clip or a magazine?
Look, I always guess wrong. Like when I
Okay. So
I
this
finally
was-
told my son the
this was
right
the gun that
country you're
brought
from,
back to
Denmark,
Dallas.
because I'm like, wait,
As
it's
part of
not
your
Danish,
ongoing
it's not Dutch, it's
investigation
not
into
German, it's not
DC,
Sweden.
do you
What
also
is
find
it?
out there is
I have to
live
go
police
through
on
all of
site?
the things it's not.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recall
Yes, I
where it
know.
was?
And they
It was
stole
parked at
your
a local
land
high school that one of his
with a
daughters-
trick.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're
With
welcome.
walking across the ice.
Were there photographs taken of the truck?
If it makes you
Yes.
feel better, I imagine all the Swedish people in
What shape
very
was the truck?
flamboyant
111?
Blades of Glory outfits as they're gliding across the frozen lake.
I do recognize him.
Okay.
They would be.
These
Yeah,
photographs
it's a-
were
it's a
taken
flamboyant
by
country.
Detective Gross, is that correct?
Yes, and also there was
No,
the Tennessee Bureau of
you
Investigation.
have to
I
understand
believe,
the
also took photographs.
the
I think
Scandinavian
were
people.
taken by
We like to make fun of people. If we don't make fun of you, we don't like you.
This time I'd like to offer to evidence states 111.
Okay,
That's why
and
I'm
chat
always
says
nice to
it is
Sean.
a magazine, not a clip.
Yeah, clip is stupid because it's a magazine. You have whole storage in it.
It's a people one. You get to hear all about the Kardashians.
Ugh, gross.
I remember seeing some actor talking about being in one of those actor boot camps for, I believe it was from
They're admitted in
Full
public?
Metal Jacket, and they were
Oh,
out there
yeah.
shooting, and one guy was yelling,
Okay.
"I'm
in
out, I'm
States
out!
111, we have a picture
Throw
of
me
the
a
black piece
magazine!"
on Titan in
Someone
the parking lot.
threw him
That's correct.
All right.
some kind of
This is just in
news
States
magazine.
112,
That's
another
just
view.
yeah.
And can you point
You're
on the
actors.
screen?
You make pretend wars.
What is of relevance here?
The
Germans isn't
T
really
is missing from the
people.
lower left portion of the windshield.
It's more like an attitude.
Yeah, again, I'm just saying, you
And also the
guys,
bumper
maybe
stickers that were
next
added
time put all your faith in
after the
Poland.
murder.
Give them
Okay.
power.
Do you think
Just for a
tap on it
change
should
up.
erase everything?
I had a.
Or on the right.
I was
that top right
deployed
corner,
with Polish
top
people.
left.
You don't want them in power. They like vodka way too much.
All right, and
Yeah,
we
but
just
they
have
make
side
really
view.
good pierogies.
States
I mean, who would have
113.
thought to put pasta and mashed
You
potatoes
again, there is
together
no T sticker on this, correct?
That's correct.
Yum.
and
All
fry
right.
them? Like, I'm just saying.
What are we looking at in States 115?
Yeah,
It is residue
it's down here.
left over from the removal of
It's
the
a
teeth
country.
from the
I
windshield.
know Americans are not really big on
And can you
geology.
sort of draw a big circle
No.
around it?
Again, if it wasn't in Harry Potter, we don't understand. We're confused.
Okay. And then
Or Bridgerton now. If it's on Bridgerton,
in States 116,
what are we
we
supposed to be
seeing
looking
here?
at?
It's an outside view of the
It's to
residue
show
left
he had
behind
the
from
Texas or the
Oh, okay.
the
The
sticker.
Texas.
No, it's not from
Yeah.
Texas. It was from.
Okay. At this time,
Tennessee
you also do a
It's
search
kind of a
warrant
real
for
I thought they were-
Tennessee
Lopez's
thing.
phone, correct?
Titans, I
That's correct.
believe.
Uh,
Maybe.
phone seized
Look,
from
I'm not a
the vehicle.
sports ball
We
people.
traveled back
people.
to Texas, and that was one of the first things we did once we got back in Texas.
Okay, and that has already been admitted as State's Exhibit 91 for record purposes.
I can do heat, but I can't do humidity.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
it is about 300% humidity here in Indiana.
Same.
At least the
Because we're gonna
arrest.
today.
Is there anything else that you can tell the jury that was done in Tennessee regarding this particular investigation that you can think of? I'm sure there's a lot of little things.
That's why my hair is up. It was not even
That's
worth
not it.
crying this morning.
Do you return back to, first of all, this Detective Walton, he was not with you.
No, he was in part of the strategy that we had on this investigation. We didn't want to show our hand because we felt that by notifying either Miss Faith or Mr. Lopez what we were looking at would possibly lead to evidence being destroyed. So we set it up where we would run simultaneous investigations and simultaneous warrants at the same time. So while we were working on Mr. Lopez's residence and getting him in custody in Tennessee, Detective Walton was in Dallas at the same time dealing with Miss Faith.
Okay. And just trying to keep them from communicating with one another.
That's correct.
Okay. At some point, though, he does travel to Tennessee
Yes,
the next day, maybe?
the next day.
Okay. And then you and he go back to Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
During this time, do you meet or have spoken to, while you're in Tennessee, Darrin Lopez's estranged wife, Rebecca Lopez?
Yes,
Oh,
I did.
Is
While
Mo.
you were in Tennessee,
Yes.
you met her.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yes.
what?
As
Is she coming
talked
in?
to her
Are you later
estranged wife.
contacted by Rebecca Lopez?
Oh my God,
Yes.
yes,
Do you
please.
recall when you're back in Dallas?
That's correct.
Do you recall if it was weeks, months,
I would say it was maybe a couple weeks.
maybe a couple weeks?
Yes.
Okay, and how were you contacted?
We exchanged phone numbers.
Okay, and did she call you about something that she had found?
Yes.
I think it's
Okay.
because she's really trying not to be too leading. Because she has been doing pretty well up to now. I really like
Okay,
both
and
the
where
defense
had
and the
she-
state in this
What had
case.
she found?
Not too much shenanigans.
Rebecca told me that she was taking care of several of financial matters for Darrin while he was in custody. He gave her access to his email account, and she found several emails between Darrin and Jennifer that she thought would be helpful to our investigation.
and she emailed you the emails, screenshots of the emails.
Yes.
I'm gonna show you what's marked as states 188 through 203. When you look through
It's
that,
a
see
estranged
that's what she
wife.
emailed you. And were they all at once, or did they come in at different times?
They mostly came in at once.
Yeah, and the estranged wife.
Do you recognize
Actually,
it?
I prefer to be my husband's strange
Yes.
wife now.
I
I'd
was
like to.
just gonna say that.
And what do you do with this information?
Once we received that information, we looked at it and saw that it was relevant to the investigation. We then wrote a search warrant for Darren's Hotmail account.
Okay, pause there.
Okay.
I'll have to offer the evidence, states exhibit 188 and 203.
So this is the way they're going to put in the emails, because the wife gave them access to the emails where they found out there was all this talking. But do we really, to prove that he was a willing participant, but still, I think I have a feeling the state rests today.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's going to be the defense coming in, and I don't know. We have to find Dave wherever he is, if he's not on the expert or Ricada or something, to where he can explain to us how are they able to have the co-conspirator but not
Those exhibits
call
are admitted as
her
offered, you
or
know.
limit what she did in this?
We're gonna get into this later.
Because
just gonna go through
I
these
is
briefly right now.
confused.
What we see in states 188, for instance, is from Jennifer Faith to Darrin Lopez on 4/6 of 2020. I can tell he's texting you sorry, and then she's saying, I love you, this has become a mess.
That's correct.
All right? This is just the same, just screenshotted. Now, on this screenshot is from Darrin Lopez to Jennifer Faith, where he's calling her Angel, and the email that he wrote out for Jamie.
That's correct.
Okay. He talks about going to the police. The rest is enough for me to go to Dallas PD. They'll open an investigation to him and Jeremy. But he's asking Jennifer in this one to send just one picture showing injuries, so he can then forward that on to Jamie that he has it, presumably, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then it just goes on. And again, we'll get into these emails more in depth, but this goes on. This is another one that looks like was sent. Looks like what was sent to Jamie.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay,
it was
on
sent to
the screenshot.
Jeremy or to Jamie, but not to Jamie. This was her fake husband account.
Okay, and then we have
I
some
believe so. Yeah.
Y'all,
Looks like
I don't even
injury
have.
photos of just a neck in States Exhibit 196.
Y'all, I am just saying, if
That
you
was
want to
emailed to you
do
as
some
well, right?
criming and
And
you
then
have a
two
lot of
other
free time,
injuries.
I have things that you can
1states,
dust. You will stay out of trouble. You can come organize my house. You know,
He wasn't
you
really
should.
into organizing houses, so
Clearly.
No, I mean, we'd have to have him out chopping woods or something, but I mean, we can find a job and a chore for everyone. We can keep your hands busy, keep you out of jail.
so he was acquitted again. That's
You
not a
know,
big surprise.
I need to figure out what particular demon in like the pantheon of them that he managed to contact and, you know,
The big horn
get
one.
away with all this. Well, yeah, it must have been like one of the major ones. Because
Well, it's the defendant's wife who is snitching on them now. She gave the password. It's not the
not
Texas
the
wife.
Jennifer, not
Yeah.
Jen or Angel.
That's a
97.
conversation I'm not part of.
That's correct.
What? I just saw 4 there. I was thinking 4 wives.
Okay, and now we have, it looks like an email from
Well, it's
someone named
okay.
Robert
You're from
Schmidt to
Chile.
Darrin Lopez regarding Jen on July 26th on State's Exhibit 202 on July 26th. He talked to Jen and he's been burning her among other things.
As far as I understand, this is her another friend account who she wrote to Darrin from whenever he tried to contact the police. This guy would come and say, no, I'm helping her out. And then he would make more drama, as we just saw in this. He's burning her and stuff like that. And when he gets riled up, he'll say, no, don't do anything. I'll help her. This Rob guy is Jennifer too. So this is
so elaborate and so ridiculous.
Well, it is on the level of Chandler Halderson, and I don't know how the parents didn't figure that one out. Other than the fact that they really didn't want to think their son had put that much effort into lying to them, which
and
I
again,
get.
As much effort as people put into lying, it's just easier to get a job.
Yeah,
It's
or
so
get
much
a
easier to get a job, and
divorce.
you can sit on your flat ass and earn money. If he was, instead of just playing taco, he could have been working from home for something. Like Jamie who has her work from home job, so she can hang out with us guys.
Yeah, doing it right now.
Yep.
Yeah, you can do that and still make money, and then you can play taco later, and then you can buy your own SKR or what the gun is. But the amount of work people are willing to put into making crimes, it's amazing me. It amazes me how lazy some people are when they're really, really, really working hard to do something stupid.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And then with that, then we have Jennifer Faith.
I sent him
forwarding
a
it to an
link,
email
but
address
he was on
called
Ricada yesterday, so
schmidt225@gmail.com.
And I will
big
send
now.
a link as soon as the afternoon starts,
Burn.
because
It says again, please do not tell
I'm
Darrin
afraid my
about
multitasking is not
Okay.
genius Ricada
Easy,
level yet.
Because this sort of came out of the blue, right?
Right.
You go ahead and get the search warrant for Darrin's Hotmail account.
That's correct.
I think this is for you, Mo.
Yeah, I didn't believe that the Robblers came in.
I'll show you what's the market states, 211 and 212.
Yeah, and you could
Search warrant you did for Darrin's
play
And he
taco
didn't
afterwards.
spend he didn't spend years trying to, concoct a entire,
And you
organization of
And
Robblers.
this is
And you didn't use the fireplace.
the business record data.
No, Ricada has been cutting back on the drinking. I think he realized it got too much of a crutch. Is that the crutch you used to walk with? So he's not been drinking that much.
For record purposes only.
His liver was like, no, thank you, sir.
Well, it's easy to scream when you get a little liquid courage, because you can
There's
just talk and
thousands of emails, right? Or at least, a lot of emails to go through.
Yes.
maybe he's on that thing he calls work.
Do you find
Allegedly, he has a
the
job.
emails that you and I just briefly went through, do you find those?
We
in
never
your
saw
Hotmail
part 2
account?
of this trial.
Okay. And do you find that there is an email from Jamie Faith as well? There are emails from Jamie Faith to Darrin Lopez and forwarding back and forth. Okay. And was that email jamiefaith511@gmail.com?
Yes.
All right. And there was an email, just like we talked about with Robert Schmidt, SCHMITTR225@gmail.com.
That's correct.
All right. And did we come to find out later that that's their birthdays,
Yes.
basically? Okay. Without the birth year in
That's
it.
correct.
It's after 2 hours. Fuck you.
For,
The number one thing you're told not to do is use your birthday in an email, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
What?
wait,
Did she
what?
use? Oh, 5/11. That's her birthday.
You also,
These are the
Jamie
dumbest
Faith
criminals
5/11,
ever.
You do a search warrant
It's like the Wet Bandits had 2 ridiculous children.
for
Yeah, it's BS with his work thing.
R. Schmidt, the email I just talked about, and Jamie Faith
Okay.
511.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, Columbus, Ohio, and Columbus, Indiana are different places, Dennis. So, if you want to go to the outlet mall, that's where you go. Columbus, Indiana. They do have really interesting architecture, and the Cummins plant. So, if you'd like to see how diesel engines are made,
All right.
I hear it's an even better idea to share
you like your
share the link
address
to
and
your StreamYard when you may be getting a little tipsy. It's so fun
oh Lord.
when people do it and they just going crazy because everyone just pressed the StreamYard link so they can get onto the stream. So it's just going ding 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 in the
Yes, ma'am.
background.
So
No, thank you. I
or
won't
to
be doing
Google for the email Schmidt.
Who
Knock
was it
on
who
wood.
had, I think, 150 people trying to get on his stream at the same time?
Yes. Exhibit
Oh,
So every time he
Lord.
removed one, a new
And
one would
then
just pop up.
to Google a search warrant for user account Jamie JAMIE Faith FAITH 511 at gmail.com. Estates Exhibit 205.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you could. Yeah, you can do a kind of a
Also
call-in
have
show, but
States
Yeah.
Exhibit
we're not sure if you're
206,
gonna get deleted
which
because someone
is
says
the
something
Google
stupid.
email for
Yeah, that would be
Jennifer
my
Faith,
thing is I
spelled
catch myself having to self-edit and
Erlob,
do a lot of things. You have people that might just
URLAUB at gmail.com.
nuke your entire channel.
Erlob presumably is an ex-husband or a former marriage.
That's correct.
Okay. And it states 207.
You know, I don't know if they're
We have the return.
I should know because my
regarding Jamie Faith.
first husband worked at Cummins,
are
but I don't other than diesel
return
engines,
statements,
I
is
don't
that
know what
correct?
That's correct.
kind they make.
207 and 208.
So we're gonna get all the email. I really hope they're not going too far into it. It's been going good. It's been get the highlights. Don't go into every thread.
Unless they're cringy, and then I want all the deets.
Yeah, but it's gonna be cringy. It's two middle-aged
Well, I think
people
the
finding their teenage love.
I'm sure the defense is going to go way into it.
That's not kidding.
And the return.
Salbert James.
Objection.
They're admitted for record purposes only.
Yes, but with other people. It's kind of why it didn't work out.
It's you ladies are funny that way.
I was going to be okay with Sister Wife because he was, you know, kind of a pain to deal with, but
Okay.
it's those potential siblings that I found out after the fact.
MLS Law. We need to get him some
All right.
Adidas tracksuit so he can squat around.
And as I said before, from his Hotmail account, you can come to find emails between Darrin, Jennifer.
Oh my gosh.
this
Him
James
in a
Faith,
gold lame
511, and R.
tracksuit.
Schmidt, 225.
I am here for it. Drunk Dave has to buy sober Dave.
No,
Not that far yet. Listen,
Okay, before we get into all of that communication.
the amount of off color and really,
You and I,
really
as
terrible
Faith
jokes I have
Co-Counsel,
made at my
gone
late
over the
husband's
emails, calls, and texts from
expense,
Darrin Cell
that's not even
and his
worst of
Hotmail
them.
account.
So
Correct?
I'll
That's
allow
correct.
Salbert.
The cell phone extraction, is that evidence for
Lefty
record
lets,
purposes,
you
also
do,
Hotmail
you
and
know.
its returns, correct?
Is they gonna read it
Okay.
like a play?
We have
Please, dramatic
looked
reading.
at the relevant time frame from the time that Darrin reaches out to Jennifer Faith through almost up to the time of his arrest. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a couple of thousand texts. Don't do all of them. Just do the highlights. We really don't want to listen to all. I love you, honey bunny. I love you too, bunny honey.
Okay, we don't, but if you could send those files to me, I will deal with the content forever. Sal and I, dramatic readings, nothing spared, all on Rumble.
But you have to play the guy because I want to see Salbert's face when you say, "You make me so hot." I want to. It's after 2 hours. I want to fill you with hot cum.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that'll definitely be a Rumble. Again, why? the temperature kills me. Like he's not frozen.
It's just nice that he didn't put it in a jar because that house looks like a house with
He,
a cum
yeah,
jar.
he looks like he might collect toenails and just put them in jars. I do wonder if the defense is going to point out that his house used to be normal prior to his traumatic brain injury. And Farrell, since you're here, I need you to find out who Andre the Giant's love child is and what he, because we thought he was waiting for his case yesterday in the wrong courtroom.
That's the guy
but
with the
he's the
soul
deeply
glow haircut.
unsettling, yeah, with the kind of.
Hey, Shaquille Oatmeal, long time no see. Yeah, yesterday we read some text about filling some people up. It wasn't nice.
Yes,
No,
I
it
do.
wasn't.
Tina's
Oh
friend and
Lord,
Jennifer Faith.
That's correct.
Okay,
we have
and this
got
will probably
text
be
messages. I
text
came back just
Now-
in time.
now we're
that
gonna be
start from the
quiet
very
because
beginning
now
of this
this
investigation
is
that led
hopefully
you
going to
to
get
a
good
possible suspect named
when they're
Darrin
talking
Lopez. Is that
about
correct?
their
That's correct.
Okay, and you have reviewed these
middle
texts and
age
seen them on Darrin
kindling of their
on
high
Darrin
school
Lopez's cell
romance
phone
and talking
extraction.
like teenagers.
These were on Jennifer Face.
On Jennifer Faith's cell phone extraction. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Just
I suddenly
imagine those
get why
two.
my kids
Then
don't
we
want to see
have-
us like kissing or being
It's
affectionate.
Exhibit 215,
Again, we saw a picture of her yesterday.
a call log
In
of
a
the phone
tight
calls between
shirt.
Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith taken from Darrin Lopez's cell phone extraction.
That's correct.
All
Yeah,
right?
he has a
And you
traumatic
have
brain
reviewed-
injury after serving
gone over
in
the
Iraq. So
WhatsApp messages taken from.
he has an
Yeah.
excuse.
216 taken from.
He has an excuse.
Lopez's
It
cell phone
doesn't
extraction.
completely exonerate
correct.
him, but I do hope that that is taken.
These are
This
messages
judge seems to be
consideration.
weighing
together
everything
by
and
Cellbrite,
really doing
taken
a
from
good
Darrin
job.
Lopez's
So
cell phone extraction,
Yeah.
States Exhibit 217.
He's gonna get a long time, but
messages,
probably not
text
the
messages
longest.
between Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith, November to January.
That's correct.
These are
No,
States Exhibit. Well, this is States Exhibit
Soren,
218.
I believe he was part
It's
of
the
a
note,
Special
deleted
Forces
text.
medical
That
detachment,
show up,
or
okay?
he was the
Taken
medic
from
for
Darrin
a
Lopez's
Special
cell phone
Forces
extraction.
detachment.
ma'am.
It doesn't really when it didn't go into his MOS or
219
anything
in
like
your
that.
page of
he
the deleted
used to be a
text that
Marine
we can
Special
see
Forces kind of
from
thing,
Darrin
and
Lopez's
he was a
cell phone
medic.
extraction.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
it sounded like he was kind of a
220,
doctor,
we
but he's
have
not a
more
medic. It's
text
just
messages grouped together by
someone who would do
Cellbrite,
some
taken from
field
Darrin Lopez's
medics
cell phone
and get them back
extraction.
to the big house.
Darrin Lopez to Jennifer
Yeah.
Faith and back
He,
September.
you know,
text.
he might have a little bit more specialized training if
The
that's
friends
a
and
Special
family group
Forces
text
detachment,
taken from Darrin Lopez's
just
Yeah, I
because
can-
they tend to
cell
go
phone
further
extraction.
out.
Yeah.
You
States
know,
Exhibit
he might have.
221, including
Hi,
him
Shelley.
after the murder with all of her and her friends.
That's correct.
All right, at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer him the
It is
evidence.
kind of sad to
States
see his
80,
pictures when he was deployed
as
to
well
this
as
sort of
States 215, the call log,
Yeah,
George
but-
Costanza.
WhatsApp messages, States
And again, he's
217,
now his eyes are just glazed
text
over.
Messages.
It's yeah.
218.
They
Great
really
young
should
man.
have brought him a coloring book or something. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but when he glazes out, and if you're caught in that stare, it is.
Then you just saw he flickers and the light comes back on, and then he goes away in a second.
Or even a notebook just so he could write random doodles,
Yes.
Yeah,
like
He
the
will
Johnny
probably
Depp thing.
Those exhibits are admitted. You may publish.
writing dirty letters to Jennifer if he got a notepad.
You know what? If it keeps him from looking weird, I'll allow it. Of course, his, one defense attorney has no eyebrows, so he looks a bit mannequin-esque. Look, I have the same problem. I get mine tinted, and then I don't look like the Terminator, okay?
But it's
Men, they
it's just so clear he's not all there, and
No.
it's sad,
And
but
that's
it
what-
doesn't excuse anything.
Well, and it just makes Jennifer look all the more evil, especially since it's come out that she tried to do this with another boyfriend.
States Exhibit 214, which is the entire conversations for record purposes.
No.
God forbid David have one day where he's not online. We're all like, is he dead? Was he abducted?
Did Farrell finally get out the attic?
Yes.
He's like, no, I'm just having family time. We're like, what's that?
And so the record's clear, the portions that I removed were items that we discussed at the side of the bench, and I'm going to admit those for record purposes as 213A.
It's a flashy watch for a police officer. But all of them are really dressing up for court.
I'm sorry, maybe approach.
Sure.
I like that there's no Church Van Halen t-shirts in this case. Everything went quiet. That's the worst part when you turn down the court sound, because we have noise gate on, so everything just went totally quiet. And thinking, am I alone here?
No.
Is this real? Or is this a fantasy? Caught in the and escape from reality.
All I can see is Mike Myers and Dana Carvey.
Yeah, in that shitty little car.
Yes. It's my favorite. I love that. I need to watch that again.
Yeah,
At least the
there's
first
so
one.
many movies. I'm really not on Netflix that much anymore, because there's nothing new I really want to watch. And then sometime when you go on Prime, they have a lot of the old stuff, and you get into all these 80s nostalgia, and you can always watch Predator or Commando and stuff like that, because it's just stupid fun.
I know. I love all the 80s.
Yeah, it's a gremlin, yeah.
My favorite movie was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which is a terrible, horrible, very bad, not well done movie, but I loved it.
It used to be
Members
the
of the
worst
jury,
movie ever made until
we've
they
reached
made
a
that terrible
nice
John
stopping
Travolta
point.
space
We're going
thing.
to take an early lunch.
Oh,
and
early
we're gonna have
lunch.
You all come back at noon.
Oh, wow.
Because we've reached a point where the rest of the next segment of testimony is going to be best done all at once. So come back at noon,
Oh.
please. Please don't discuss the
So
case
so
among
noon.
yourselves.
That's
Please don't
early.
do any independent research.
Yes.
That will
I'll see
be
y'all at
7 o'clock.
noon.
That's
All rise
in
for the jurors.
40 minutes. He's keeping a tight ship.
I like it.
Okay, so I have got to change, my start time to not that, because I was planning on, I just
They
wanted
have
to throw
do-
something up.
Yeah, 1 p.m.
Okay.
If they are back at noon, and he keeps it real tight, so if you put it up for 1 p.m. Look at me. I can think in time zones.
I'm glad you can, because I'm over here like, what does that mean in our time? And
He's
I'm waiting
better
for
than
chat to tell me.
But again,
I'm waiting.
I have to add 7 hours and subtract 6 hours, so I can make it your time.
Ah,
So it's easier to just do the 7 minus 1 from the beginning. So, but
well, as long as other people math, I'm really okay for it.
Yeah.
yeah, but that was again. We've been going for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and there hasn't been that. We had the morning break in 20 minutes or something. Else, it's just been the last one here. It's just to lay the foundation, and you're gonna get all the texting, all the emails in the afternoon. It's probably the rest of the day, and then I can't see them doing much more. So everyone, Mo will be carrying the show. Mo will be hosting, and Jamie will be carrying the show as always. Jamie is the true star of the show. Mo and I we just use Mo.
I love
not
how
Mo.
he lumps you into this, Mo.
We just use Jamie because she
We
brings
do.
all
No, you
the
don't.
people to the yard. But Mo will be running the ship in the afternoon, and I will pop
Hopefully
in, say
away
hello.
from icebergs.
Yeah.
We never know. And Shaquille O'Neal, you're right. He's a super good judge. And when they have objections, it's just fast and everything is going on schedule. I really like this case. I'm really glad we jumped onto this because I have had some really boring cases to sit through. This and the Bradley Young, because the Bradley Young, I got the edited version, but
Yes.
sometimes you're just sitting here for hours and nothing happens. In this case, everything is moving. We had 3 witnesses in the first hour.
Yeah, and they were all concise, and God love them, the prosecutors didn't, shout and bang the daggone things 27 times because they're ridiculous. Did you see the interview after that giant dingus did?
No.
No,
Oh,
I just I couldn't stand that guy. He was just an idiot. Sorry to say it, I don't know him. But the theatrics, I hate people doing theatrics like that.
Me too.
Yeah, and it takes away from, yes, please think of the cats. They're fat, they're huge, they're gassy, and
Apparently, that was funny as hell.
oh my God. And he ran away because I was trying to get the damn monitor to go through the other thing, and I'm like, God damn it, Thor. And then
Oh my
Griffin's
God.
over here like, what do you eat? I'll give you more. He farted. It was just all the cat farts.
Sounded like a person, and I was dying.
It's a good way to hide that you had a bit of gas, Mo.
I know.
Blame it on the cats. It's okay.
If it was me, because if it was me, I'd have claimed it, because that was a loud and deep and powerful fart. And in my family, that is apparently our claim to fame, is who can fart the most and or do silent deadly, and then you walk into a gas cloud. This was not the case before we had boys. It is now the case since we've had boys. I was,
off camera for like 10 minutes because I was
and
crying.
then I was just like, it's my life. I'm over here like pretending to be professional. I have used giant Jenga blocks to put my computer on a stand so I can stand up, and it's just like, it's a good thing I don't have any dignity, because I'd have lost it.
You can't have dignity on YouTube. I
You
showed you
can't
that
have
last
dignity
week.
with children.
But everyone, just so Mo can have enough time to eat some lunch. Let's end this show. And no, it was more than 10 minutes into. It's a couple of hours in, I believe. Søren will know it because he likes cat farts.
Oh God! Have I made a new? If you are going to fap to my cat's farting, we need to have a talk. You need Jesus, and you just
You're worse than Selbot is what we are saying.
Oh Lord! It was
But
like 10 minutes after I got back from the eyeglass thing, so I believe it was around 11 for those of you who want to deal with my flatulent cats. Because like I said, if it was me, it was a grand one. And apparently now that we have boys, we claim those.
Everyone, on that note, I'll end this stream and see you later. We will be dual streaming again in the afternoon, so you can watch it here. You can watch it on Mo's, and if you're not already, go over, subscribe to Mo.
There may be another farting cat. Just join for the crime, stay for the.
The farting cat is the most important thing to come back to see, and Mo's rendition of all the text messages.
God help us all.
I think they're gonna need some church, lady. See you all later.
See you.